WWF Monday Night Raw, October 2nd of the year 2000.
I didn't say anything this time.
Yeah. Show is dedicated to Dennis Dunn, longtime producer, and yes, he is Kevin Dunn's father.
Good reporting, Vinny.
Well, I'm an insider.
Yes.
People pay for scoops. We get a 20-minute promo. The Rock comes out. Talks about Rulon Gardner and Alexander Carolyn.
By the way, this is a 25-minute promo.
I was going to say, I didn't want to interrupt him, but this was a 25-minute promo.
Angle comes out. Says his win was better than Rulon Gardner's, buries Michael Jordan. I will say the only one thing I got out of this promo in 25 minutes is that Kurt Angle needs to call more people Buster.
Mm-hmm.
Foley comes out. Then he brings out Hunter and Stephanie. And now Benoit's out there. Kane is out there. Rikishi is out there. Lawler is even... I was about to make a joke about who else could come out, and Lawler says, play my music, I'll demand a title shot.
Well, I will say that once Rikishi's music hit, I quit. I literally... I've seen 1,000 people come out, because every week 1,000 people come out, and Hunter, and Foley, and by the way, I'm a fan of Chris Benoit, the wrestler on this show, but dude, when he came out, I was like, go away. I've seen you come out on 50 shows, you still don't have the title, you've had many opportunities, just go away and let's go to the next segment. When they hit Rikishi's music... When we scraped the bottom of the barrel to the point where Rikishi is coming out and demanding a championship match, I said, you know what? Craig's going to watch this, and Vinny's going to watch this. I am done. And I started hitting the fast forward button, and, stuff keeps happening.
Well, no, nothing happened. They were all just out there for a long time.
Well, sure, but I mean, there was a Rock promo, and usually Rock promos are pretty good.
Usually.
But I didn't care enough. I fast forwarded. It was insufferable.
Rock took a long, long time to make a gay joke about Kane and Chris Benoit. And then it all ended.
Did you write it down?
The promo?
The gay joke about Kane and Chris Benoit.
Vinny, I beg you not.
I did not.
I just can't imagine. That's why I want to hear what it is. Some writer thought, you know what, let's do a gay joke about Chris Benoit and Kane. And then they wrote it and went with it. Wow.
So the matches booked for tonight are Rikishi and Rock versus Kane and Benoit, and Hunter versus Angle in a number 1 contenders match. It took them 25 minutes to do all this.
Whoop-de-doo.
So the Hardys versus Too Cool. Too Cool has Mandy and Victoria with them now.
Also for the number 1 contendership, I believe.
Sure. No, the Hardys, this is a title match. Hardys are champions.
Right.
Well, I guess the losers are the number 1 contenders.
Sure.
How about that?
Yeah. So Too Cool have new music, so I guess they're no longer with Rikishi. They have Mandy and Victoria with them. And in this match, they wrestled as heels. Was there a heel turn I missed?
No.
Was it when Grandmaster Sexay lost the dance contest here to Jeff Hardy? Was that a heel turn?
I think by default they were the heels in this match.
Well, I figure that the Hardys were in there, and they just figured the girls would be squealing for them, so Too Cool may as well be heels tonight.
They brought up girls. How could they be heels?
The Worm was still over. That got cheered.
Mm-hmm.
And then Edge and Christian try to interfere. They accidentally spear Scotty, and they get thrown out of the ring, and Jeff crushes Scotty with a senton to pin him.
Edge was wearing this full leather suit with oversized glasses. Ironically, Edge looked like Bono.
Well played, sir.
Thank you.
Well played. Hunter is pensive backstage.
Oh, he's very upset. On SmackDown, there was some sort of angle.
Whatever.
We didn't talk about it in the opening segment. But even though they did the storyline where Stephanie chose Hunter over Kurt, now she's randomly managing him. She managed Kurt Angle on SmackDown, and I guess helped him beat The Rock. So Hunter is all agitated that she helped Kurt. I'm so over this story now, but it just keeps going.
I like when Steph noted something must be wrong with Hunter. He hasn't spoken in 20 minutes.
He just spoke for 25.
I was going to say.
God forbid.
He probably lost his voice out there in the opening
I'm
segment.
losing mine here. So Hunter just says something is not right. He's got a bad feeling about tonight. During the break, Edge and Christian, you see Foley is determined they cannot get another title shot of the Hardys. So if they want a title shot, they have to make the Hardys lose to somebody. Foley offers them a shot at gold tonight, but it's Steve Blackman's gold, the hardcore title.
So Foley is basically telling them they need to interfere in a Hardy's match. Is that what I'm getting at here?
Yes and no.
I don't think that was his intent, but now you mention it, yes.
Okay.
Or quit. Or go elsewhere.
And then, man, what did poor Steve Blackman do? He's got to randomly just do a handicap match against this great tag team?
That's true.
Well, this great tag team was terrified they had to face Blackman.
The Milky Way Slam of the Week is Austin meeting Taz at WWF New York and beating him up.
This Taz.
That too. We only saw the very end of this, but they implied, and maybe I'm reading too much into what little they said, but they implied that Taz was making jokes about Austin's divorce. That's delicate. So Austin beat him up. Then we got a trios match. Taz and Raven and X-Pac versus the Dudleys and Chris Jericho.
You know, it's funny Taz would make that joke about Steve Austin because I think Steve Austin just got married.
Oh.
That's weird.
Maybe he's wishing him well in his new marriage.
Could be. So the crowd was hot for everything in this match, especially tables. Raven's timing was way off. He was too early for everything.
The ring's too big.
I guess. I mean, he totally, near the finish, Vinny will describe, he stood there
Yeah.
while a guy finished a move.
They're doing the parade of finisher spot where everyone hits a big move, turns around and takes a big move from somebody else. And Devon goes to grab whichever one it was.
Sure.
Say it's X-Pac. He's going to hit X-Pac with a reverse DDT, but he grabs him, and then Raven's already there. Mm-hmm. And they kind of look at each other, and Devon says, fuck, I'm hitting the move anyway.
And Raven just stood there looking like an idiot.
Yes.
In fact, Steve Austin married Deborah 2 weeks prior to this show.
Oh, how about that?
Well played.
So eventually Raven gets pinned with the 3D and a Quebrada. This was fun.
So they debuted Raven a week ago, and he's already taken the fall in all of these matches.
Well,
So he ranks below Taz.
Yeah.
in this
Wow.
match,
Wow. This was like a 10-minute match cut to 3 minutes, but they left every single spot in.
That actually is a good description.
Yes.
Yeah. Foley is backstage enjoying Playboy when the right to censor interrupts. I could barely hear what they were saying.
They're very upset that Steve Austin is back. He is the catalyst for the lack of morality in WWE.
They're doing right to censor versus Steve Austin.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten this.
Well, I don't think they're really going to do it. I mean, he's just going to stun all of them, but...
So when they said Foley was afraid of Austin, Foley got pissed and kicked them all out. Cole is about to interview Lita when Jacqueline jumps her from behind, and they fought for like an hour.
They fought for an hour, but it was like the funniest fight you've ever seen. First, Jackie attacks her, and she puts lipstick all over her face.
That's like 10 minutes in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then they brawl to the backstage, like way in the backstage.
Yes.
And as revenge for putting lipstick on her face, Lita throws Jackie into a bunch of empty boxes.
Yes.
That happened.
Cardboard ones.
That happened.
Then they fight up onto a production truck, like a high one, okay? This is a big semi-truck. So they climb up onto the semi-truck, and they're probably legit like, 8, 9 feet up in the air. Lita throws Jackie off of the truck into who knows what, the abyss. Looks like she's dead. And as Lita goes to grab her carcass, the carcass sprays a fire extinguisher into Lita's face. She no-sold this plunge off of a truck into the abyss.
In a parking lot.
Yes, on the cement. And they keep fighting, and finally these geeks come to break it up. This did go on for like 2 hours. But at least they weren't talking.
Touche. You got me there. You don't mention that as they were brawling, they nearly exposed Victoria in the shower, which is funny because we had just seen Victoria 20 minutes earlier in that tag match doing nothing. I'm not sure what happened between these two segments that she needed a shower.
Those lights are hot.
As they're outside brawling, Lita says, I'm going to give this woman an Irish whip into this truck. But the truck is far.
Yes, very far.
And Jackie has short legs, and she has to take like 100 steps to get to this truck and crash into it. That was funny.
So then she
That made me
crashes
laugh.
into the truck, and then Lita's going to throw a bunch of stuff at her. And so she picks up this traffic cone, and she throws it, but she throws it like 10 feet up in the air. Then she throws another box at her, 10 feet above her head. I'm like, man, you are one bad pitcher.
Well, the funny thing was everything that she threw was hitting the truck above her and then falling down upon Jackie.
Yes.
At least twice here, I wrote, how long is this? And then eventually they just broke it all up. Rikishi and Rock warm up backstage. And then we get Chris Benoit and Kane versus Rock and Rikishi. So we watched an episode of Superstars on Sunday night when the Head Shrinkers made their debut on that show, which is Rikishi. And also, Yokozuna made his debut on that show. And now I'm watching Raw. It's like those two guys just merged into each other. It's Rikishi. This is a good match, especially, I don't want to shock you, when Benoit was in with The Rock.
You know, they're not too bad.
They work amazingly well together.
It was less good when Kane was in there with Rikishi.
Or when Rikishi was in there with Rock, or whatever. But yes. So, they're doing the near falls. And for reasons that I don't think were ever explained on the show, Benoit just hits Kane with a chair. And the good guys hit a rock bottom and a sit-down splash for the win.
Well, as you're well aware, I didn't watch the whole first segment because I was infuriated. But I do remember that everybody was coming out to ask for a championship match. And I think that Benoit and Kane don't like each other and were forced to team up against their will.
Obviously, yes.
And there's nothing in this for Chris Benoit. So finally, he just hit the guy and left.
Couldn't he done it earlier in the match?
Well, yeah, but he wanted to get his hands on the Rock first. Wanted to put some time in.
I guess.
Foley walks backstage and he's pissed. Foley comes out for a promo. He says, on SmackDown, I told Steve Austin to stop stunning people. And then showed a video montage of Austin stunning a bunch of dudes and ruining title matches. And then, as Foley came out to chew Austin out, Austin disrespected him and walked on by. So he calls out Austin here. He wants Austin to promise not to interfere anymore.
No more stunners.
No more stunners. Austin tells a wacky story about calling Miss Cleo. Says Foley has done... Yes?
Topical.
Stone Cold Steve Austin is out there doing rock-style comedy.
Yeah.
I called Cleo's psychic hotline, which, by the way, like a lot of our listeners are like, what is a Cleo psychic hotline?
Exactly.
Well, it was a phone number. You would dial on an analog phone, and they'd charge you money to talk to a stranger who would tell you your future.
Yes. In a thick Jamaican accent.
Yes.
People did this.
Yes.
Okay, so Steve Austin claims he did this, but Cleo didn't know who ran him over.
Right.
Now, you can't get your money back from Cleo.
No.
Like, you'd think she'd at least say somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Throw a name out there.
Yeah.
The stars say it was Mick Foley.
Like, you think if I called Cleo the psychic and I said, Cleo, how many children am I going to have? You think she's just going to go, I don't know. I'm paying her $2.99 a minute. Probably going to say, I see that you will have 3 children. Okay, great.
I now want to start that psychic hotline.
Sure.
If I don't know, I'll just tell you I don't know.
Yeah. You see how long you can string them along before they realize you actually don't know anything.
If I'm paying money for a psychic, the first thing I'm going to ask is, why am I calling?
Yeah. So Foley
To
says...
know your future.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. So Foley says, when Austin says you have done nothing to solve this case, Foley says that's not true. I spent my own money to fly in a prime suspect. And Billy Gunn's music plays.
Mm-hmm.
So Foley didn't just bring out the suspect at the beginning of the show. He's like holding the suspect in his back pocket, I guess in case Steve Austin gets out of control. What?
Yeah, he had a gun in his back pocket.
This Billy Gunn comes out.
So Austin stares at Ass for a while. Mr. Ass admits he was not there that night. He was not accounted for, he says. But he was in DX, and he was suspect number 1. But he did not do it. He explains his flight that night was delayed, and you can check on that. And Jerry Lawler mutters, must have been on United. Mr. Ass says he saw the car that ran Steve Austin over.
I thought he wasn't there.
Right.
He said he was just arriving to the building. You can ask the Brooklyn Brawler. He picked me up at the airport. I saw the car that ran you over. I saw the driver. He or she had long blonde hair. He points out he's not sticking up for DX because last time we saw him, they were kicking his ass. Austin says, I believe you, but I never liked you that much anyway. Kick, wham, stunner. And Billy Gunn does a great limp fish sell of this.
You did do a great bump.
Stunner.
Listen, if I were Steve Austin and this guy told me I wasn't there, and then 10 seconds later said, I was there in time to see the driver, he's getting stunned.
Well, that's what happened.
Yeah, he deserved it. A likely story.
Edge versus Christian versus Steve Blackman. I am over hardcore wrestling.
I wrote almost the exact same thing. I am so sick of these random BS hardcore matches. They're just in there hitting each other with cans, lids, there's a chair. Blackman beats this tag team all by himself. Like, I thought he was on his way to a WWF title match after this.
Somebody took the time to carve handles in the trash can lids, only to see Blackman favoring his hand, looking at it numerous times as blood's dripping from it.
Oh, dandy. Yeah, they played this nice
cut a
sharp
hole.
edge. Yeah. Here's everything I wrote about this. Everyone hits each other with shit, and Blackman hits Christian with shit and pins him.
That's what happened.
The right to censor is outside burning Playboys.
This actually was funny. Godfather's out there ranting and raving about this filth. I laughed.
Well, I laughed at the next one.
This one was also good.
Brooklyn Brawlers and Catering.
This was great.
Steve Austin goes to interrogate him to double-check Billy Gunn's story. And then the Brawler corroborates, is that the word?
Yeah.
Verifies that Billy Gunn's telling the truth about everything.
He confirms the
Confirms
story.
this, thank you. And Austin's, he's being Steve Austin. And so
He's menacing.
he's menacing, he's intimidating, the Brawler is on edge. Finally, Austin's done. He's gotten the answers he's looking for. He goes to offer a handshake. But as soon as that hand comes up, the Brawler screams and launches himself backwards over the catering table to the floor. And Austin's left with his hand in the air, and his turns to him and says, "You need to switch the decaf, son," and walks off.
You know, to be fair, the Brawler was getting stunned. He probably got it easy just jumping backwards over that table.
He may well have.
Yes.
Yeah. Eddie Guerrero and Chyna versus Val Venis and Steven Richards. I thought it was very random that Steven's doing the wrestling for himself this week, and then 30 seconds his guys come in for the DQ. And then Austin runs out and stuns everybody. Steven escapes, but Chyna catches him in a testicular claw.
He's a big fan of that Playboy.
I guess so. Throws Steven into the ring. He gets stunned, of course. And then, of course, Eddie gets stunned too. Wrong place, wrong time. Foley comes out, and it's clearly time for the payoff to this. And he's upset.
And what a payoff.
He's outraged. He's got the mic, right? And everyone can see Steve Austin's about to stun him. And Foley says, "You have given me no choice, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I must fine or suspend you. And what I've decided to do..." And at that exact moment, that is when Steve Austin has kicked him in the gut and hits him with a stunner. That made me laugh out loud.
You peaked.
There was a lot of good fun.
There's comedy on the
this
show. Like
yes.
legit comedy.
Yes.
So Foley throws a tantrum backstage.
He's screaming Austin's name. He's asking him who he thinks he is. I'm like, are you new? He's Steve Austin. Of course you're going to get a stunner.
Hunter is stretching backstage. He's still got a bad feeling about tonight. Asks Steph to stay in the back.
Oh, man. Do we have to talk about what happened next? Stephanie is told that she needs to stay in the back, and she walks off, and she bumps into Chris Benoit. And he stares at her creepily, and he says, "How's your head?" Because he headbutted her last week. And she slaps him, and then he laughs in an even more creepy manner right in her face, and she flees.
More creepiness to come.
It gets much worse.
Can we edit this stuff off the shows?
It would be nice, honestly. It's very unpleasant.
Like, can we see him wrestle, but not, like, be creepy?
So, to inspire people to register to vote and encourage the presidential candidates to have a debate on SmackDown, they held a rally in D.C.
Can you imagine if they actually would have had a debate on SmackDown?
No.
Like, can you imagine
No. I honestly cannot.
Al Gore out there?
Who would have got stunned?
George Bush? What did they call him on Superstars?
It was his dad, but they called him a wimp.
Oh,
The other George.
yes, it was the other George. Oh, Lord.
So, but I'm looking at this, and this is obviously for publicity. So they sent big stars. The Rock is there. Mick Foley is there. Also, Al Snow.
Sure.
Okay.
The common man.
No, he's not.
I'm just kidding.
Does he get 2 votes?
One
Yeah,
for
one
Ed.
for the head.
Yeah.
Hope not. Triple H versus Kurt Angle.
Number one contendership on the line.
And doing this match, we'll just skip to the really...
Go ahead.
Steph comes out, the ref gets bumped, and then Benoit comes out and grabs Steph, and she begins to scream at him in terror. I wanted to shut my laptop. I wanted to burn my laptop. Beyond skeevy this was. Did not need to see this.
I could do without all of this interaction, I wrote.
Yeah. So eventually, a bunch of stuff happens.
Hunter makes the save. Angle gets a chair. Stephanie gets on the apron. She gets the chair. He yells at her. Hunter goes for his move. Benoit grabs Stephanie again. Hunter is distracted. Hits Kurt with a chair.
No,
Hunter with a chair.
Benoit hit Hunter with a chair.
And Kurt pins Hunter to become the number one contender for the WWF title.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the show ends with Hunter and Steph screaming at each other, and he walks out on her.
Well, Hunter was right when he said he had a bad feeling about this
It
stuff.
was very bad by the end.
Yeah. And then Hunter's yelling at Stephanie afterwards, and the announcers won't say it, but they're like, "Oh my God, they wouldn't say separating or divorcing, but you could tell that that's what they're asking."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, he's yelling at her. This happened 50 times. I think the Hunter and Stephanie are going to also just divorce for this one spot. Skeptical. Are you ready for your music, Vinny?
I'm prepared, sir.
Well, let's do this. Let's turn the music on.
Okay.
The finishes on this show were pin after interference backfires, clean pin in a trios match, pin in a tag match after one guy attacks his own partner with a chair, pin after one guy hits another guy with shit in a hardcore match, DQ due to run-in in a minute, and pin after interference with chair. WWF Monday Night Raw, October 9th of the year 2000. So from SmackDown, we learn that Hunter no longer wants Stephanie at ringside, but Kurt Angle does. And she says she'll think about it. All right, how long is this Kurt, Hunter, Steph thing going?
I hope it ends forever. Soon.
Yes, because...
It sucks now.
Yes, exactly. Now it's just on the treadmill. They're just going back.
Yeah, it's like somebody put a kibosh on it.
They cut it off, and it seemed to end. Now they keep going. It's dumb. Also, Mick Foley suspended Steve Austin indefinitely, so Austin gave him one chance to reconsider. Foley did not reconsider. You'll never guess what happened next. This brings us to
They
Raw.
shook hands? Left cordially?
Yes, Brian.
Okay.
So on Raw here in the year 2000, Mick Foley comes out for a promo, brings out what he describes as my fellow broken down, washed up wrestler Shawn Michaels.
You know how funny that was in 2019?
That was hysterical, actually. So Shawn denies running down Steve Austin, also denies he would have a motive. Foley then showed the clip from WrestleMania of Steve Austin beating Shawn Michaels for the title and said his best match was Mind Games with Shawn Michaels was forgotten. And people have forgotten all of Michaels' great matches, forgotten how he got out of his hospital bed to pass the torch to Steve Austin at WrestleMania.
He says, if I had passed the torch to Steve Austin and he flipped me off afterwards, I'd have run that son of a bitch over myself.
Yes. He says everyone's forgotten about Michaels. Now they're all cashing in on his hard work. And finally, Michaels denies it again, but I know who... Did he say I know who did it or who would benefit? He accused The Rock.
He said, I know who benefit.
The Rock is the one who ran Steve Austin over. Lita versus Jacqueline in a hardcore match.
To be fair, he said, I might know who it is.
I see.
Because he was trying to figure the one guy that loved the spotlight more than he did. And it was The Rock.
So I am as over hardcore wrestling for the women as I am for the men.
Yeah, but Vinny,
will
have you
say-
seen Lita wrestle?
Touche.
This was so much better with them just hitting each other with stuff and falling off ladders.
And I will add they had at least some storyline to this, which is Jackie tried to get a fire extinguisher. She couldn't figure out how to get it to work. So she gave up and did something else. But then Lita got the fire extinguisher and she figured it out. And she sprayed extinguisher in her face and bonked her with a cookie sheet and pinned her.
Yeah, you have to pull the pin on those.
Yes.
There was a blow dryer in the ring, like a hair blow dryer. And Jackie just hit her in the head with it.
We're going to do plug it in.
It's a hair dryer, Vinny. It's not a cookie sheet.
It hurt. I don't I don't want you to hit me with
Should
a
I
hairdryer,
go
Greg.
get a blow dryer?
I'm just saying.
We could take turns hitting you with it.
It wasn't a trash can lid. It's something that gave. It's a hairdryer.
Well,
cookie-
maybe she was going to bring a trough of water in with it.
A cookie sheet is a broad, flat surface. And if you hit him in the head with it, it'll bend.
Right. A hairdryer does not.
Exactly.
That would hurt.
Okay, so that's the point you're making.
Yes.
What?
I thought you were saying it's a dumb weapon because it wouldn't hurt.
Never mind. Move on, Vinny. We're having a lack of communication here this evening.
I'll say, was there a giant mallet to skewer somebody
There was
with?
not.
Though there's some giant things in the next segment, though, because
Chyna met with Deborah.
Chyna
They almost needed a split screen.
They're very, very happy to see each other. They have a big hug, and Deborah separates Chyna's hair to look at the Playboy shirt she's wearing and says, "What is this?" And Chyna does not say, "It's a Playboy shirt." Chyna says, quote, "A big set of boobs."
Well,
She's not wrong. They talk about Deborah's honeymoon. It was later made patently obvious she married Steve Austin now. And Deborah's looking for Foley. Chyna's looking for Eddie.
So it took me like most of the show to figure this out, but Foley interviewed every blonde person on the roster on the show.
Yes.
It wasn't just a bunch of random geeks.
so-and-so. Was it Mr. Ass? So they saw a blonde
It's like
driver.
one guy said it was a blonde.
Last week.
And so like that's like his evidence. I must interview every blonde. There's no chance that there was a mistake.
yeah, nobody dyes their hair.
Foley's detective work on this show is
Hideous.
baffling.
Yeah.
Hideous.
Inspector Clouseau could have done a better job.
Not just this show.
But yet it worked.
Every time he does an
That's the amazing
investigation.
part.
That's true.
Every time he does an investigation, it's terrible.
Maybe he's Inspector Gadget and Penny and Brain were actually doing all the work for him. That would make more sense than what actually happened. So,
May I talk about Foley, what he said to Deborah? Foley meets with Deborah, okay? Now, before I even go into this, Mick Foley is supposed to be a babyface. Am I wrong?
No, you're right.
he's a baby face, but he's also the foil for Austin. He is the authority figure.
He says, I know you're not happy about what happened with Stone Cold. He suspended him. But I'm going to give you some news. You know what? This is going to make Steve Austin feel better. He says, it was really terrible. It was horrible that Steve Austin got run over. But when he got run down, there were some positive things that came out of it. For example, he needed somebody to take care of him. How was your wedding, he says. He says, Austin was on the road 250 days a year. And I want to know if you hated that life enough to do something about it. I was like, what?
That's a stretch.
Wow!
Crap against the wall, Brian.
You called her into the office and accused her of running over her husband?
Flew her in, Brian.
Flew her in to accuse her of running over her husband?
Yes.
You loved him so much you tried to kill him so he wouldn't go on the road?
That's convoluted.
My wife watches Snap. This is easily believable for me. I've seen
Dude!
much crazier things than this.
She cut a promo on him and she stormed out. And I was like, what a bastard that Mick Foley is. That's all I could think.
And for those of you keeping track, Foley's office was the laundry room this week.
Yes.
An office is an office.
I guess.
Wherever the commissioner is the commissioner's office. Hunter is outraged at that bastard Mick Foley, who has booked him to
Hey,
team.
he was right today.
Who's booked him to team.
Sometimes he says that. I'm like, that's not very nice. But today, that guy was a bastard. I can't believe what he said to Deborah.
Hunter is teaming with his hated rival Chris Jericho against his friend X-Pac, and the only upside is he'll be able to get his hands on X-Pac's partner Chris Benoit.
Why was this match made? What in God's name is going on?
To stick two random singles feuds together and make a tag match. Stephanie pleads her case to be at ringside. Hunter still says no.
But I'm happy, he said, you made the right business decision to not accompany Kurt Angle to the ring on a permanent basis. What? We miss so much not watching SmackDown. I don't know what's going on.
We do, and yet I do not care. So I don't feel like I missed anything. Linda's limousine arrives backstage. And
Another blonde.
Yes, and then we see her having a chat with Mick.
Maybe you killed Steve Austin.
He didn't kill him.
Did anyone ask Test? Has he been asked yet?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't remember that.
I don't recall.
Maybe it happened on SmackDown.
All right, I'm not making this next segment up.
Oh my God.
Steve Blackman, the WWF Hardcore Champion, and Raven, the ECW icon, faced off in a regular rules match. So
It sucked.
Raven does.
Could they have botched any more spots in this match?
Raven did the ugliest dive ever, where I was not concerned if anyone was actually hurt. He at least landed on his feet, but he just launches his body all cattywampus and
Dude, that's the
spins.
least of our problems. They tried to do spots,
Yeah,
and they botched every single one of their spots. And then Blackman just kicks him and pins him. Raven debuted 2 weeks ago. He's lost 2 weeks in a row.
he's doing the losing streak gimmick.
And then Ross says something like, "It's Raven trying to get out of the blocks."
Yes,
Like, wow, what a debut.
This dive that you're talking about, Vinny, he ended up doing a corkscrew dive, but I don't think he meant to.
I had no idea. It was not graceful.
Then Raven beats him up,
Yes!
and Blackman gets his damn screamer sticks,
Beats him
and
up
he
again.
beats Raven up.
So Raven's got beat up twice here.
You know what's more amazing to me than Raven facing Blackman and losing and then getting beat up again 2 weeks after his debut? The fact that it's now the year 2000 and Steve Blackman is still a pushed character on this show.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people didn't have careers that long in WWE?
Most of them.
And Steve Blackman, there's nothing about him that Vince likes, except like he's got a good physique.
He has muscles.
He's got no charisma. God bless the guy. I'm sure he's a great guy. He's got no charisma. He can't cut a promo. He's not that good a worker. He's fine.
He's just there.
But like, he's just been employed forever and they keep pushing him.
He's not losing every week.
No.
He's winning every week.
It's
Yes,
crazy.
It is a mystery. It is a great mystery. So Linda meets with Foley.
Every week, I watch this during Paisley's bedtime. And every week, she comes in at some point during the show. And usually it's, something that I'm just appalled that she's watching. But she walks on in, and it's Mick Foley meeting with Linda. And she walks in, she's all happy, and she sits down on the couch. She starts looking at the TV. And Foley starts interviewing Linda. And Linda starts droning on and on and on. And I swear to God Almighty, Paisley just looks at me and she says, "When is that lady going to stop talking?"
It's a fair question.
I died.
Well, it's 2019. We're still waiting.
She just talked and talked and talked. I don't even know if she talked. It was like she was like Siri. I'm saying,
Siri's got more life.
oh, forever.
So Linda guessed that Foley was going to ask her about was she involved with what happened to Steve Austin. And I tried my best. I have a vivid imagination. I tried to imagine Linda McMahon behind the wheel of a car, flooring it and trying to run someone over and kill them.
Mm-mm.
I can't do it.
No.
This is impossible.
That's too much energy exerted.
Too much. She doesn't do anything fast,
Hey, Siri, who ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Okay, I found this on the web for who ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin. Check it out.
That was way more life than Linda.
Yeah, much.
Not even close.
So now we get into Detective Foley. He notes Steve Austin was ran over at Survivor Series in Detroit. He says, Linda, I found your hotel receipt in Detroit. What?
How?
Mick Foley went to Detroit, scoured parking lots and trash cans and found a hotel receipt nearly a year old that proves she was in Detroit. And further, as Linda points out, I'm the CFO, whatever her title is, of this company having a major show. I'm in Detroit all the time. Whenever they have pay-per-views, I'm there all the time.
How about the larger issue? The whole roster was in Detroit.
Yes. True. Then he asks her, who is selling the most merchandise with Steve Austin gone? And she says, it's The Rock. Chris Benoit and X-Pac versus Chris Jericho and Triple H. Let it be known that Benoit and Hunter fucked something up here. I couldn't believe my eyes, but it happened. X-Pac Heat is now officially a thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know what's funny about X-Pac Heat? So they're having this match and it's really good. Mm-hmm. And then X-Pac tags in and he's really good. He's one of the best workers on the entire show.
Yep.
And he's booed out of the building.
Yeah, passionately.
And I thought, man, 4 or 5 years later, if you're a great worker, they just start cheering you no matter what. He was before his time.
That's true, actually. That's a great point. And he's great, and he's getting booed more than literally anyone else on the show. And Ross notes, crowd responding in a very negative way. So Hunter and X-Pac were friends. They avoided each other the entire match until a four-way breaks out at the end. They bump into each other, and Hunter turns around and throws a punch and lays him out, and he's appalled and embarrassed. He laid at his buddy. He didn't mean to.
Didn't we watch like 2 months ago a whole bunch of storylines where Hunter and X-Pac kept getting in fights and screaming at each other and having matches and beating each other up?
Sounds familiar.
That may have happened, yeah.
Yes, it did happen.
So the match continues. Hunter goes to the top rope. Jericho clotheslines X-Pac over the ropes on that side, causing Hunter to straddle the turnbuckle and hurt his testicles. He falls in the ring. I'm thinking, okay, Benoit will hook him in the crossface or hit the headbutt.
That's what should have happened.
Benoit cradled him and pinned him. Of all the things...
Vinny.
Yes.
You thought that Hunter was going to fall into the ring and Chris Benoit was going to submit him with his move?
That's submission. But of all... Hunter never gets pinned, right?
Nope.
He never gets pinned. So he got pinned by a low blow. Now, when I thought about it...
Well, he landed.
I hope you thought about it.
I thought about it.
Okay, good.
Because the only thing that can hurt Hunter is himself.
Yes.
His huge balls were.
When I saw this finish,
smashed.
I was like, well, of course that is the finish. He got crotched. He fell into the ring. He got pinned.
No one is allowed to hit their move
No
on him and
crossface,
pin
no
him.
German, no diving headbutt. Of course not. Are you crazy, Vinny?
It made sense.
How long have you been watching
about
this? And by the way, the crowd is dead for this finish because they're all sitting there thinking the same thing we are. He fell off, and that's the finish?
Yes.
Like, they didn't even know what happened. I mean, I was gobsmacked, but I wasn't.
Foley is grilling Edge and Christian in his office, 2 blondes. So they're being Edge and Christian and being all wacky. Hunter storms in. They're terrified. They shut up. Hunter wants a match with Benoit. Foley gives him one at no mercy. Hunter accepts this, and he leaves. And once he's safe and gone, Edge and Christian snap back into being Edge and Christian. They make fun of his name, call him Parcheesi instead of the game, all this stuff.
What a fighting babyface this Hunter is.
Absolutely.
I want this man one-on-one.
He is a babyface
I don't want
right
anybody
now.
out there.
There's not really been a turn. There's a gradual thing with Kurt, but he's 100% a babyface right now. So Edge and Christian deny having anything to do with Steve Austin. They say they've got to get going. They've got surfing lessons. Hunter storms into his dressing room. Steph makes sure he's okay, and of course he is, of course. But then she notes, "You've had trouble winning matches ever since you asked me to stay in the back." And she leaves, and Hunter throws a little mini tantrum. The Hardys versus Low Down, which I had forgotten was a thing.
What? The Hardys against D-Lo and a random headbanger?
It's the better headbanger.
Chaz.
This is a vast improvement over the headbangers.
Dude, the Hardys come out for D-Lo and the random headbanger. I'm like, what is this? Does this show need to be an hour? Like, we can't find out how to fill 2 hours. We gotta have D-Lo and a random headbang. They're low down?
They're a team now.
Yeah.
Their gimmick is they're called Low Down, and they have matching...
Who's low and who's down? and why?
D-Lo is low.
D-Lo.
Okay.
Chaz is down by default.
Yeah. He's down for whatever.
And they wrestle for
We put
like
more thought into this than they did, I'm sure.
200,000 years. They just beat on Matt and beat on him and beat on him and beat on him. And
think it was that
finally,
bad.
I thought it was
Lita,
mostly fine.
Yes.
I was over this. I just was over it.
That was pretty good.
They're having a fine little match, Brian, until there was a point where Lita was supposed to trip Chaz,
Oops.
and the referee is looking right at him. And so they just wait.
We're sure that's Chaz?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
They wait, and they wait, and they wait. And finally, the referee remembers there's a trip spot coming. He turns his back, and then Lita grabs him and trips him. That was the 200,000 hours you're talking about, just that one spot. There's this comeback going on. Okay, it did fall apart at the end. I will say that. Everyone is shouting at each other and pointing. No one has any idea where they're all supposed to be. Finally, the Conquistadors attack. It is Edge and Christian.
Don't give it away, dude. Spoiler alert.
It may be Edge and Christian stealing the gimmick
I'm sure the Conquistadors were back.
stealing the gimmick of masked jobbers from the late 80s who had not been seen in a decade. They come out covered head to toe in gold. They cut off whichever Hardy. Lowdown hits the Powerplex, the Superplex Frog Splash combo, but then Matt hits the leg drop on one of them, and Jeff gets the pin on D'Lo. So the Hardys still win. They're still champions, but then Chaz attacks with the belt afterwards. This feud must continue. Foley interviews Al Snow in a blonde wig. They get nowhere, and Foley is getting very frustrated by his inability to solve this mystery.
See, Al is the Intercontinental Champion, so he's trying to look
God, they
Swedish.
were low
European.
down.
That's right.
European champion.
European, I'm sorry.
Brown formed a tag team in July 2000 with Chaz.
Did you not see the graphic on the screen?
They've been doing this for 3 months now.
Okay, that I did not know.
The team mostly wrestled on Sunday Night Heat and jacked.
There you go.
Shortly after the team formed, Tiger Ali Singh joined the team to become their manager.
Okay, I had that nugget in my brain because when they were talking about Lowdown on SmackDown, I thought it was D'Lo and Tiger Ali Singh.
Oh my God, it gets better. The team was removed from WWF TV in January 2001. Why?
I don't know.
Tiger Ali Singh got hurt. Well, his team. We just can't use him if Singh's hurt. Their manager's out.
They thought enough of... Oh, my gosh. He was horrible.
According to Brown, it was the lowest point of his career. So me and D'Lo agree.
Okay. William Regal joins the announce desk. He is a star among stars.
You can always tell when somebody writes their own Wikipedia. According to Brown, it was the lowest point in his career. Chaz and Singh were later released by WWE, while Brown stayed in WWE's developmental territory, OVW. Notably, Brown wrestled future world champion Batista in a losing effort. Notably? Are you kidding me?
Wow. Oh, God. So William Regal is doing commentary for Al Snow and Test.
Best thing on the show.
Al Snow's gimmick, as Craig explained, is whatever country, he picks a random country in Europe and dresses like a stereotype. So even though he had a blonde wig being Swedish earlier, here he was representing Greece. But because he's Al Snow and dumb, he was not representing Greece, the country.
Yes.
He was representing Greece, the musical.
Right.
Great.
Had
He had the best theme of anybody on the show today.
Gosh.
Did anyone check if it was the same thing they used for Deuce and Domino?
I don't think so. That was different.
So he's got the leather jacket on, and I think the leather jacket and the beehive hairdo. I think.
Well, no. The beehive hairdo was on head,
I see.
but he had like a greaser wig on.
Okay, so Regal, as I mentioned, was awesome in this match. He's appalled that Greece, a country with thousands and thousands of years of culture, is being mangled by this buffoon. Test comes out with Trish. Regal's line, which I have remembered for 19 years now, is taking it back and goodness, she's a bunks of wench, isn't she?
Not wrong.
Talks about being polite to a waitress that day, even though she was of a lower standard than him, and because he was polite, it made her day. Al and Test are in there. They're working very hard. Nobody cares.
Most of all, me.
Al hits the Northern Lights bomb, which is his finisher. Ross calls it a power slam. Test kicks out.
It's actually called the snowplow.
He calls it the snowplow. Everyone else who's ever done it calls it the Northern Lights bomb.
Fair enough.
So he grabs head. Trish gets involved. Test bonks into Trish. Al wins with a headshot and gets the pin. William calls this bloody disgraceful. That this European champion who's not even European, how can he represent Europe? He has to stoop to these tactics to win. Regal was awesome.
Let me talk about this next thing here. Eddie Guerrero shows up and meets with Chyna. She says, I've been looking for you all day. Why are you not taking this match seriously? He says, if I ever let you down, why don't you trust me? She says, it's not about trust. He says, it's all about trust. We're getting married. What? Has this been a thing? Have I not been paying attention?
I thought it was, wasn't it?
Since when were they getting married?
It was kind of alluded to in a couple of weeks.
Okay, so now they're getting married. And so Eddie freaks out, says, I'm ready to go to the ring. If you want to go, come with me. And he storms out. So the match is Eddie and Chyna versus RTC. So you got to remember all that we've been watching with Eddie Guerrero and Chyna. And he screws this up. He screws that up. He accidentally pins her. He brings her a dog. He brings her flowers. Now they're going to get married. Well, all of a sudden, completely out of the blue, they're doing this match. GTV appears on the screen. Eddie is in the shower with two hoes. He gets out of the shower. Chyna's devastated. She just sits down on the steps, weeping. And RTC beats the hell out of Eddie. They pin him. The key to all of this is, we watch the show today, and like stuff happens out of nowhere that makes no sense. And they do stuff where you just watch and you're like, you are so stupid that you thought you were going to get a different reaction than the one you got. Well, this has been happening for 19 years. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Eddie is a lying cheater who is in the shower with hoes when he's supposed to get married with Chyna. Their relationship is just shattered out of nowhere, okay? Number one. Number two, they thought he would be booed. When he got out of that shower and the first hoe stuck her head out, everybody starts to go crazy. Then the second hoe sticks her head out. They went even crazier. They've never seen a cooler guy than Eddie Guerrero. They're cheering. They're chanting Eddie, the top of their lungs. Chyna's there crying. We're supposed to feel sorry for her. As the fans are they're so happy. Then, like, the 20% of the audience are actually women. They start trying to start a Chyna chant. The dudes just blow them out. Eddie! I'm like, what did you people think was going to happen? You absolute morons. What did you expect to happen here? Then Mr. Ass comes down, and he beats up Eddie. And I'm like, and you thought that was going to get over? Chyna's savior is Mr. Ass? We're going to cheer for that guy?
Her shoulder to cry on.
Could you possibly have swung and missed? I mean, Rob did this week, but I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I'd turn his camera off, Rob, if I were you. I want to put him on TV again.
What was this? I was disgusted. They may as well have faced Lowdown.
Well, all I can really add is that the moment they got the biggest reaction.
Yes.
Like this may have worked the way they wanted to. Right? Eddie may have been booed. But when he steps out of that shower and looks back at the women and then looks back, not at the camera, but to the head and says, "Two mamacitas is better." That was the line. That was the one where everyone went crazy. Mm-hmm. Because Eddie is so awesome.
Yes.
You're going to cheer for him just on basis of being Eddie Guerrero. So yes, the men cheered for Eddie. The women cheered for Chyna. There's more men. And everything else went down more or less as you said. I do want to add in between those last two bits with Eddie arriving at the building and then the actual match. We go to WWF New York, where the Road Dogg is holding a rap concert and dance contest. This was cringe.
There was one lady who was trying very, very hard.
Michael Clark Duncan is shown in the crowd. Mick Foley meets with Crash Holly backstage. Notice that
Who's not blonde anymore, by the way.
Crash is no longer blonde. He's going his natural light brown hair color. So Crash leaves.
Dude, of all of the investigations that Foley did, and all of his stupid theories and everything that he did, when Crash Holly shows up and he's growing his hair out, and he says, there's too many blonde people around here. I was like, you didn't pick up on that? That's the guy that ran over Steve Austin.
Plus, he could barely
It's patently obvious.
Crash?
Yeah. His name is Crash.
That's a damn good point.
He's growing out his blonde hair.
Screw that. His name was Crash.
I mean, come on.
Foley's a horrible detective.
He's hideous.
His name was Crash.
Yes. It could have been an
He's
accident.
a blonde guy named Crash who's now trying to not be a blonde anymore. I mean, could you possibly have more evidence that he's the culprit?
It could have been an accident because he can barely see over the steering wheel.
Okay. Thanks, Baron. All right. Okay. So when Crash leaves, Scotty Too Hottie arrives, also a blonde. So Foley interviews him. Foley says, no. That whole time that Crash was being done in Detroit, when Austin got ran over, I was backstage, me and Grandmaster and Rikishi, waiting for The Rock to finish his match so we could all go party.
Right.
And Foley just nods. Chyna leaves the building. Eddie tries to plead his case. Chyna says this ring was the most important thing in her life. She throws it at him. She never wants to see him again. Eddie pleads, "I'm nothing without you." Chyna says, "You already are nothing." And she drives away. So Eddie starts to look for the ring, but he bumps into badass Billy Gunn.
No, just Mr. Ass.
Mr. Ass calls him a dumb bastard. Says he lost the best thing in his life over two cheap-ass hoes. Tells him to go get the $20 for your ring back. That's as close to Chyna as you'll ever get again. He starts to leave, and Eddie finds a bottle in the street and breaks it over his head. Then he takes the ring, and he leaves. So apparently, Mr. Ass has been secretly pining for Chyna this entire time.
Right.
Well, and the hoes, because he seemed to know they were cheap.
Oh, that's a good call.
Look at the detective that I am. Way better than Foley.
All right, so this fucking thing. Angle comes out, does his whole entrance. Kane comes out, does his whole entrance, attacks Angle. So I write Kurt Angle versus Kane.
Boy, are we on the same boat.
Because I have a functioning brain. And when I see two men fight each other on a wrestling show, I assume they are fighting.
Right.
No, everyone. They are tag team partners. The match is Kurt Angle and Kane versus Rikishi and The Rock. Now, Angle just got attacked by Kane and got his ass kicked. So he wants nothing to do with this. So Kane wrestles a handicap match against the heavyweight champion of the world and his friend, the big scary sumo wrestler, and beats the fuck out of them. At his peak, Hunter was never this dominant against impossible odds. He just leveled them, man. For like 10 minutes, he got the heat on them. Both of them. All I could think was, if Dwayne Johnson had not been The Rock, this would have been the worst title reign. So horrible. Then Kurt is a moron.
Worse than Booker T.
Well,
That's what I thought.
forget about the other show.
It's pretty bad. All I know is Kane beat on him forever because they had so much time to kill. And so Kane puts The Rock in a side chinlock on the mat. I'm like, oh my God. We don't need an overrun. You're winning. You're destroying World Championship Wrestling.
That's right.
We don't need to sit here in a chinlock on the mat.
So Kurt, being a moron, decides, now that Kane has beat them, I'm going to ask this man who just punched me in the face repeatedly to tag me in. So Kane grabs him, chokeslams him up into the air and down into the ring. He has now killed 3 men. He has killed the gold medal winner. He has killed the heavyweight champion of the earth. And he has killed the big scary sumo wrestler. Then he just leaves. Why did he bother coming out?
He did all he had to do.
So Kane leaves. They beat up Angle for a while. Rock hits the rock bottom. Rikishi hits a sit-down splash. Rikishi pins Kurt Angle. This is to build Kurt Angle versus The Rock at the pay-per-view. What on earth? What on earth happened here?
There's a lot of that on this show. What's going on?
I was so...
Who's low down? It started there, really.
The whole show screwed up when they showed up. That's not the end of the show.
This seriously was like we missed 10 shows. You know what I'm saying? Chyna and Eddie are breaking up because he's a philanderer, and Kane and Angle are fighting each other, but they're a team, and Rikishi's pinning Kurt, and Crash is the culprit. There's so much stuff going on. Then Rikishi does the show closing promo. Has he ever cut a promo on television that's more than like 10 seconds long?
Well, the answer is no. And if you watch this promo, you would understand why. So Foley comes out. He says all the evidence points to The Rock. It was his rental car. And they add, they found your DNA in that car.
What?
What was he doing? What was The Rock doing in his rental car? That's creepy. Then, despite the fact that all the evidence points to Rock, Foley says, I declare The Rock not guilty. It was you. And he points at Rikishi. And he says, Scotty said he was backstage partying with Rikishi. But Rikishi had not even debuted in the WWF yet. What was he doing there except being The Rock's friend and family? He had access to The Rock's keys. He had access to The Rock's car. And I must note, he says, the mirrors in that rental car were configured for a very large man.
The Rock's not a very large man.
A year later, Mick Foley went to Hertz and said, excuse me, I need to examine car 54 or whatever.
Where are you?
And he looks at these mirrors and says, God damn, I'm a big man. These mirrors are way out of position even for me. This driver must have been very huge.
So knowing that, Vinny, he decided to interview Crash Hall
and Scotty Tuhati.
Linda McMahon.
Linda.
Deborah.
This is... Dude.
This is stupid storytelling.
Yeah.
So, Rikishi confesses, and we get the Rikishi promo. And when I say the Rikishi promo, I honestly don't think he ever cut another one after this.
Nor should he.
No, it's.
I mean, honest to God,
It's not horrible.
the reveal that Rikishi was the driver was so stupid and so hated back then. But I have to give them credit because nowadays you see all sorts of stupid things and swerves and surprises, and nobody ever explains anything. At least Rikishi came out and said, listen, I ran this dude over for The Rock.
I did it for The Rock.
I did it for the Island Boys. Yes. Because the Island Boys, he says, they never got a chance. I'm thinking, what are you talking about? The Rock never got a chance? There's one standing there right now with the belt on his shoulder.
Alpha and Sika were tag team champions. Jimmy Snuka challenged Bob Backman all the time.
Yokozuna.
Thank God for Rikishi. Roman Reigns would never be around.
That's true.
So Rikishi did it for the Island Boys. His company has always been about the Great White Hope, he says. The Rock had been held back. And so he had to do what he had to do. He says, you know what? I take full responsibility. You being you the way you are today, Rock, it's good enough for me. I don't want any help. I want y'all to know The Rock had nothing to do with this. But before I go, I want y'all to know one more time. I ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin. And to tell you the truth, I'd do it again. He leaves. That's the end of the show.
The end of the dancing.
It wasn't a horrible promo, but this is a year-long storyline involving the biggest star in WWE. Who ran over Steve Austin? And at the end of the day, Rikishi ran him over for the Island Boys. Now, of course, at the end of the day, spoiler alert, Hunter is actually behind this. We'll get to that later. But that's the story they told on this show.
I think Crash actually could have cut a better promo here.
I'm sure.
With the same motivation, by the way. He's a big fan of Island Boys.
I was going to say, I don't think it's the same motivation. No, he'd do an even easier promo. Us little guys never get a chance.
It's true.
I'm sick of these big dudes. I ran him over. Then I won the hardcore title 45 times, so it was great. You ready for your music?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it.
The finishes on this show were pin in a hardcore match after all sorts of weapons, clean pin in a regular rules match, clean pin in a tag match, pin in a tag match despite interference, pin in a tag match after one guy is caught cheating on his partner, pin in a tag match when one guy who is not in the title match kills the two guys who are in the title match and a random third guy, and then the random third guy pins a guy who is in the title match. WWF Monday Night Raw, October 16th of the year 2000. Eddie Guerrero comes out for a promo, and he may have gotten a great reaction last week, but boy, was he hated here. So he says he was tired of Chyna's crying and whimpering. She was just a pain in the ass. I'm the boss, he says. Yo soy el jefe. Which brings me to you, Mr. Ass.
He was so excited to talk about Mr. Ass. Were we just talking about this?
Only Eddie could have made this work.
Yes.
He threatens to kick Ass's ass. He calls out anyone who wants to fight him, be it Chris Jericho, Mr. Ass, or Miss Floozy, which is his new name for Chyna. But Jericho interrupted. Jericho outright said, this is the first time in a month Raw has not opened with a 20-minute interview segment. Let's fight. And he charged the ring, and the show was 6 minutes old when the bell rang. It was 6 minutes and 20 seconds old
when it rang again.
When it rang again.
You know, this relationship really went downhill fast.
I'll say.
They were so into each other. They were going to get married.
Yes.
He was doing everything he could to regain her love. Now it's just crashed and burned. All because of two hoes in the shower.
Mm-hmm. I love how he cheats on her and she's the floozy.
Yes. He's a heel and
Right.
a hypocrite.
Right. A good one at that.
Well, anyway, so 20 seconds in, Jericho does a monkey flip, the reverse monkey flip, and Eddie lands on the back of his head and also apparently hurts his hamstring.
Yes.
He is clearly messed up. And as he rolls to the floor to try and collect himself, you can see he's also limping badly. And they throw him back in, and he tries to do something he can't even run, and the ref just says, fuck this, and he waves off the match.
Yeah, I thought he tore his hamstring, but it was just a hamstring pull, which was good news, but he was hurting bad, so they threw the match out.
No concussion?
No, it was his hamstring. That's why he grabbed his leg.
Thank you, Brian, but Jim Ross was saying that he looked like he was out.
No, he was fine.
He was fine. His head was fine.
He bonked his leg.
Yeah.
That's most of the issue.
So, X-Pac runs out and attacks Jericho. Mr. Ass makes the save. Or, as Jim Ross puts it, Mr. Ass has exploded on his old teammate X-Pac. Phrasing.
Fans went nuts for Mr. Ass.
They did.
They exploded on Mr. Ass.
They did, actually.
Yeah.
A limo arrives. Kurt Angle is there to greet Steph. He waves off whoever it was that was going to be there. Very happy to see her. She's going to be in his corner tonight, and she asks him to get her bag, and he jumps right at it.
I'm so over this storyline.
It's been a long time.
I do not ever want to see these people again. I hope they go away and never come back. But it got better.
It did.
It's ironic that I thought that at the time, but those were my thoughts.
Rikishi preparing for an interview with Jonathan Coachman. The M&M's replay is Rikishi's confession from last week. And then they cut to Rikishi, and he's sitting there with Coachman, looking all surly, and nothing happens. And finally he says, "You gonna ask me a question or not?" Fine start.
You know, as goofy as that was, I wrote this down almost word for word, but I will truncate it for everybody. The first question that Coachman asks is, what's the reaction been to you since you ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin? That's actually not a bad question.
Not at all.
Rikishi says, it's been great. Friends, family, they love it. They call me a visionary, a pioneer. I stood up for change here. Remember when he had that gimmick? When he stood up for change?
I do remember
I'd forgotten that until right now.
Yes.
But yes, make a difference, Fatu.
Make a difference, Fatu. I have been banned from Raw. I don't know why. Coach says, well, this is the same arena where you ran the guy over. He says, Foley isn't protecting me, he's protecting Stone Cold. I did what I did. I like it. I'm happy. I'd do it again. Coach says, you know, The Rock isn't happy. And he says, The Rock is just confused. He's cool with what I did because blood is thicker than water. Coach said, homeboy, you ran a man over. You ran a dude over. He says, yeah, who cares? Coach said, you almost ended his career. You have no remorse. Rikishi said, hell yeah, I have no remorse. I'd do it again. And if Stone Cold gets in my face, I'll slap him like the dog he is. This was so much better than last week. It still wasn't great. I would go as far as to say, I'll say it was pretty good. I don't know if I could go all the way to good, but it was an improvement. And Jonathan Coachman, this was like the best Coachman I ever saw. What is it about this company that just ruins everybody? Do you know how insufferable and horrible and wretched at his job the coach was by the time they finally got rid of this geek? Mm-hmm. The dirt worst bottom of the barrel. He was good here. Michael Cole was just a great backstage interview guy. They started him on commentary. He had some life. Now look at him. He's a parody of a bad pro wrestling announcer. He sucks. And he's on the A show right now. I just am flabbergasted. That was my take on this. They're wrestling at No Mercy, no holds barred. A weak build.
That's a strong build.
No, it's pretty weak.
It's a year in the making, dude.
It's a pun.
I know what you mean.
I thought this was a bad promo until like the last minute.
I don't think it was bad. It's fine.
The last minute, he caught fire. He's talking about, as you noticed, slapping Stone Cold down like the dog he is. This 400-pound Samoan will take care of Austin and No Mercy. You can take that to the bank. If they had just aired like the last minute, it would have been so much better. TNA go for a walk, and we get a highlight package from Heat.
Excuse me, a
Heat.
package?
And it was highlights, too. So, TNA were playing poker with the APA when they ran out of money. And so they were allowed to keep gambling if, instead of putting money into the pot, every time they lost, Trish had to remove an article of clothing. So she's down to just about nothing and about to take that off too when the camera pans to Bradshaw and Farouk slack-jawed, and then Albert and Test attack them and destroy them and lay them out. So
Worth it.
What's funny about it is, it wasn't a bad little skit, but my God, did it lead to a bad match.
Yes.
oh my God. This thing. For like 30 seconds, it was like, this is a bunch of hosses, and they're working, but the crowd doesn't care. And like the longer it went, the worse it got. And soon, guys are falling all over each other, and like Test backs up and trips over Farouk on the ground. Farouk tries to save it by making it look like a schoolboy, and everyone's looking at each other, not sure where they're supposed to be. And finally, there's like a distraction finish with Bradshaw, and Albert hits the choke bomb. And I thought, well, at least it's over. No! Farouk breaks up the pin and just keeps going.
Do you know what the problem with this tag division is in WWE, aside from like Edge and Christian and the Hardys? Which, by the way, when you think about the best matches of the Attitude Era, what do you think about? Edge and Christian and the Hardys and matches they had with the Dudleys, right?
Usually.
Okay, because in every one of these cases, you have a small dude or a skinny guy that can be sympathetic. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
The women scream for Edge and Christian when they're baby faces, but now they're heels. The women scream for the Hardys. They have so many Haas teams that you end up with matches where you have to get the heat on Farouk.
Yes.
You know how impossible it is to get heat and sympathy on Farouk?
100% here.
It's impossible. There was another tag match on this show where it's also like a bunch of big dudes, if I recall correctly. And it's like, how can anyone possibly care about getting heat on whoever? But anyway, yeah, nobody cared. They chanted boring. It sucked. And then finally, Bradshaw hit a lariat for the pin.
Yeah. We go backstage where Hunter and Steph are on their couch. Stephanie is wearing all purple satin and leather. Just an amazing outfit. Looks like a comic book villain. So Hunter doesn't want her
in a lot of ways, she is.
Well, maybe. That's what she was going for. So Hunter, of course, does not want Stephanie at ringside for his matches. But now he no longer wants her to be at matches ringside for anyone else's matches either. He knows it's just business. He knows she wants a career, but it's not safe, and he's not there to protect her. And Steph just says, well, I guess we're both going to have to take that risk or something. But if you won't have me out there for your matches, I'm going to find someone who does.
Well, at least they explained that she is a McMahon. This is her business and her life, and that's why she wants to be out there working in the business. Fine. Now, unfortunately, I don't know.
Word.
I was just watching the show, and as the show went on, I just realized it's starting. Like,
Steph?
It's all about these McMahons.
Yes.
I mean,
We're 2 years in.
It started at Mania, but I mean, it's so obvious now. It's like everything they do is to get Stephanie over. And then obviously, like, Hunter's going to marry her, and everything is about getting him over. Everything's been about getting Shane over for a few years. Vince is the only one that just wants to get the hell out of there, but he keeps getting dragged back. And 19 years later, this is what it's become. The only people that they ever try to get over are the McMahons. And they don't try to get over any wrestlers. They're not even trying to get over a Rock anymore. It's just a bunch of geeks under the McMahons. And this is the beginning of it right here. Sad.
So Steph meets with Kurt, which pisses Hunter off, and he wants Steph to leave so he can talk to Kurt alone. Al Snow versus Steve Regal.
I expected this to be better.
So they set this up. This is classic WWF booking, and they've been doing it for the last 20 years now. Al Snow is the European champion. Steven Regal, of course, is European and outraged that a non-European has his belt. So he wants a title shot to put the belt on a European. That's all fine and dandy. How does he earn this shot? He attacks Snow on SmackDown, causing Snow to lose somebody. Then Snow attacks him on Heat, causing him to lose to somebody. And now the two losers are fighting for this belt. That's dumb.
Well, it is really stupid, but I hate to jump ahead, but I just want to make a comment about the main event. The booking of the main event was absolutely perfect. Stephanie came out there. She was with Kurt. and she proved that if she is in his corner, she can help him win, which is the story going into the pay-per-view on Sunday. So my point is, the big difference between Vince McMahon today and Vince McMahon back then is back then he at least understood how to do good booking for the main event storylines. The undercard was just like a bunch of crap thrown together and it didn't matter. But like if it was a main event storyline, at least it largely made sense. Now, nothing makes sense. That's the big difference. But yes, this is every stupid WWE booking trope they've ever done.
So the match, as you noted, it was not bad, but boy, was it not effective.
Listen, I'm not a fan of Al Snow, okay? But he's got the potential, I believe, to go in there and have a good match with William Regal.
He should be able to mesh styles with Regal very well.
Somehow, they didn't.
They, instead of doing really cool chain wrestling, they did really terrible brawling. Even the baby.
Even she disagreed with the booking of this right here.
So Al goes for a moonsault. Regal gets the knees up, hooks the Regal stretch, and taps him out. He's the new European champion, and he keeps going back and forth, being very happy to have this belt, and still being very angry at Al and stomping a mud hole in him.
Jim Ross could not believe that William Regal had defeated Al Snow for the European title.
Well, it was only his second match in the WWE since.
It's Al Snow.
Understood.
As the champion. I couldn't believe that happened.
His gimmick was Job Squad.
Yes.
There's that.
Anyone should be the favorite against this guy. So Hunter, to make a long story short, Hunter warns Kurt, if anything happens to Stephanie, I'll kick your ass. And if I think for 1 second your relationship is anything more than business, I'll kick your ass.
Fair.
And Kurt is uncomfortable, and he's backing off, and he's hemming and hawing. And as soon as Hunter leaves, Kurt gets a huge smirk on his face.
God, we're just starting over again.
They do. That's a reset everything. Kane walks downstairs. Kane versus Triple H with Chris Benoit on commentary.
Hey, I'll give Triple H this. He had a better match with Kane than Chris Benoit did.
He did. This is a fun little TV match. Kane is monstrous. He grabbed the huge, jacked-up bodybuilder Triple H and pressed him over his head.
Yeah, press him.
Jesus. For reps. He is a monster. He's a big red machine.
Steph is backstage. She says, "This is ridiculous, Kurt."
It's actually hysterical. So Ben was on commentary, running it down everybody. I forget what happens in the ring, but the point is nothing is happening. One guy hits a move, and they're both just laying there for like 4 seconds. And then they cut to the back where Kurt and Steph are both sitting down watching the monitor. And then as one, they leap to their feet, moved by the inaction in the ring. Steph wants to go help Kurt, or help a Hunter.
You know that Benoit's going to get involved. I've got to go to ringside. Like, what are you going to do when Benoit gets involved?
Right.
You going to stop this? Kurt says, "You got to stay back here. Hunter told me you're my responsibility." She's all aghast looking at the screen, and he's smiling.
So I shared the pic of Kane pressing Hunter high over his head with the referee looking up to the sky where Hunter is up there of the clouds. And I got a lot of feedback from guys saying, and 2 minutes later, Hunter hit his move and won clean.
Close.
You fools! Hunter hit his move and then Benoit attacked for the DQ.
That is what happened.
So there you go.
Hunter had thrown. He dove over the table, took out Benoit. I mean, what you're not pointing out in this match is Hunter is supposed to be a heel, right?
No.
He's a babyface?
I think so.
He's a babyface.
He's actually a babyface.
Yes, you are supposed to cheer for Triple H right now.
Oh, okay. Well, he worked as a babyface here. So.
Yes.
I had this big long rant about how he was trying to be the top heel and top babyface.
You can save it. That will.
I'm sure it'll come. Yeah.
It will not go to waste. It's just early. And then Benoit beat up Hunter, put him in the crossface. Hunter did tap to the crossface, even if just for the post-match beating.
How is this guy a babyface?
That's a great question.
He's not a hero.
What is likable about this character?
He's
mean to his wife. He's mean to an Olympian. He's just beats everybody up with his move all the time. I mean, what am I missing here?
How to be a heel 101.
Okay. I don't know if I can make this argument because, yes, Brian, he's kind of a dick. That's all still true. But he's a dick to other people who are even bigger dicks.
I see. Okay. Yeah. He ran over Steve Austin, by the way.
Well, he won't be a babyface then.
Okay.
When that comes up. Speaking of which, Austin goes for a walk, and then Michael Cole interviews Austin.
Hey, Michael Cole was fine here. Why couldn't they just leave him in this role for 20 years?
He was fine until like the third question when Austin was tired of the way he held the mic and yanked it out of his hand and basically stared at him until Cole left.
Well, yeah, that was good.
It was good, actually.
Got rid of him.
It worked with Austin. So Austin says he's going to unload 11 months of frustration on Rikishi. It's BS that he needs protection from anyone. Says I got pictures of Rikishi all over my house. When I see Rikishi, I'm looking at a dead man. And Cole asks him, what are you going to do when you have a chance to get in there with Rikishi? And Austin promises, well, I'll tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to arm drag him. I'm not going to drop kick him. I'm not going to do any of that lucha libre crap.
Oh, how dare he.
I was terribly disappointed.
Yeah.
I want to see Austin and Rikishi doing lucha. So Austin yanks the mic and scares Cole away. And he's being great Steve Austin. And we're just running down Rikishi. Everything he's going to do, everything he does to Rikishi is going to be legal. And then Rikishi gets on the screen, and he's great. He says, Austin, Mick Foley told me I can't go in that building, but he didn't say anything about being out here in the parking lot. Right where I ran your ass over. I'll be here all night. If you want some, you can come and get some. And Austin storms out. And up to this point, this has just been great. This was a great segment. And Austin can't find Rikishi. Like Hunter, he's a babyface who's a dick to everyone, grabbing guys and shouting at him, where's Rikishi? They don't know. And as he goes up to the production truck, in the background, you hear an engine rev. A car comes zooming through a bunch of cardboard boxes. Steve Austin has to go jumping into the bed of a truck as the car pulls up right where he had been standing, and tires squeal. Rikishi rolls in the window. He actually is driving the car. And he shouts something about, I'll see your ass on Sunday or whatever. And he peels out again and drives off into the night.
Yeah. I liked it.
I was good.
He tried to run him over again.
It's not that there was a bad segment. I just can't believe they used a real car with real Steve Austin and a real Rikishi driving it.
Well, yeah.
I'm pretty sure the signal for Austin to get out of the way was the boxes exploding everywhere, but yeah, it could have gone horribly.
It could have gone very badly.
Yeah.
Could have gone very badly. And
I've been in a lot of parking garages. I've never seen random cardboard boxes stacked up.
No.
That's kind of weird. I liked it. Rikishi sticking his head out the window, being all cocky. I'll get you next time, Steve.
X-Pac cuts a promo. Chris Jericho's a friggin' idiot. Now he's got to deal with another stupid blonde, that big dumb idiot, DX fired. So he calls out Mr. Ass, who comes out in street clothes. Then Eddie Guerrero comes out with his leg mummified. He's limping like hell, but he is able to hit a belt shot of Mr. Ass.
Very important we continue this story.
It's critical. It's critical that this segment go off.
This guy can't move, but my God, we have to set up Ass versus X-Pac.
He has to hit Mr. Ass in the head with a belt so that Mr. Ass can wrestle X-Pac for 20 seconds before Chris Jericho attacks.
Yeah.
All of this must be done, Brian.
Yeah.
We're professionals. Everything has to be followed through. So that's what happened. It didn't even have there was a bell to start the match, but no bell to end it.
Still going on today.
Jericho and X-Pac at least have a cool brawl. Yes, I did get the finish of that written down.
Mr. Ass demands Foley give him a match with X-Pac, and Foley says it's on, no mercy. Was it X-Pac or Jericho? I don't even know. There's 85 people out there. Was it X-Pac?
I thought it was Eddie.
Eddie?
Because X-Pac and Jericho.
So you're telling me that they set up a match for Eddie on Sunday, even though Eddie just ruined his leg?
Yes.
Dude. This is clearly pre-wellness.
Well, I mean, there's many hints at that. Dudley's versus Los Conquistadores.
Oh, God. Here was another one. They're getting the heat on Devon.
See, okay.
For 1,000 years.
They showed a clip from Heat where Edge and Christian were wrestling Too Cool when they were distracted by Los Conquistadors so Too Cool could win. And Edge and Christian were very frustrated they had been distracted. But hey, this proved they were different people.
Sure.
So this is a joke gimmick. This is a joke match. And for a joke match, this went way too long.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the idea is that Edge and Christian can't get a title shot ever again. So I guess they're trying to work their way up the ladder as the Conquistadors so that they can win the tag team titles again. That's the story here. Why they had to get the heat on Devon for 3 hours?
I don't know.
On a show that had an overrun that didn't need it? I have no earthly idea. And Bubba got a hot tag, big pop, went to unmask a Conquistador, the other one cradled him and pinned him. Conquistadors on a winning streak after all these years.
They are. I like when the Dudleys went for the "was up" drop, and Jim Ross says, "How do you say 'was up' in Spanish?" It's K-Pasa, everybody.
Jerry
Answers
Lawler
K-Pasa.
made every racist Mexican joke
What?
I think there's ever been during this match. And Jim Ross, his disgust was palpable with everything that Jerry Lawler said. As a Mexican, I laughed this whole match.
I had forgotten how shiny the Conquistadors were. They're very shiny, like a treasure from a sunken pirate wreck.
I like their little walk that they come down to the ring with.
It's kind of bushwhackery.
Yeah,
Not
it's- exactly.
And they're committed to the gimmick.
Yes.
Because as soon as they get that schoolboy, the ref counts 3, they march to the back.
Yes, they got beaten, or they won, and they were beaten up, and still managed to pull off the walk to the back.
The Rock is hanging out backstage. Road Dogg versus Val Venis.
Oh my God, an hour of rest holds.
Road Dogg says he has as an American, he has certain rights, including the right to kick Val's ass.
That's not a right.
Which amendment is that, guys?
That is not
I've forgotten.
an unalienable
It's
right.
at the end.
In the fine print.
Question: is DX still a thing anymore?
That's
Because
a great question.
X-Pac has his DX gear. Road Dogg has his DX gear. He goes through this whole spiel.
It's vintage.
Triple H is Triple H. Billy Gunn is not DX
There's no
anymore.
DX right now.
It's there's not.
But-
X-Pac and Road Dogg just have the same music
And the gear,
and the logo
and the glow sticks, and everything else.
and X-shaped pyro
Right.
and cross drops.
So,
Well, my guess is that X-Pac isn't going to sell a lot of merchandise unless it's DX merchandise, so they just kept the gimmick on him.
it's fair.
Anyway, yeah, so it went for like an hour. Naked Minion arrived. Road Dogg thought it was funny, but because he thought it was funny, he was distracted, and Val hit him with a nut shot and pinned him.
Irony.
Stephanie gives Kurt a pep talk, tells him to focus. And then Steph introduces Kurt as the guest host of Heat, who will interview The Rock on Heat and then beat him on the pay-per-view. And Angle does a promo bragging about his accomplishments and talking about Rikishi running over Austin. And then it's time for our main event. Kurt Angle and Edge and Christian versus The Rock and the Hardys. The first time we've had a long, good match with good heat all night. It's just a good TV match.
I got a question. How long does this Stephanie thing where she's managing Kurt Angle go? It's not long,
I
right?
don't think much longer.
Okay. I don't know when they kill it, but I do know this. When they first showed up at the beginning of the show and I said, go away, get off my TV, I never want to see you two again. They came out for this promo, and don't get me wrong, this was not a blowaway promo, okay? But they had something together.
Uh-oh.
Kurt was being all wacky. She'd throw in some comments. They actually played off each other very well. They had a charisma together. I enjoyed the little interview that they did at the beginning of this match. And as soon as I realized that, I realized this ain't lasting 2 weeks.
I don't think it does.
They're going to kill this dead. I'll bet you anything this was why. I bet Hunter was watching this and he was
Sure.
like, this has got to end. Because they were good together. She was better with him than she was with the Hunter in his segments. And she was better with him than she was by herself. Like, they were good together.
Hey, Hunter's no dummy, and he knows how relationships, when they go to angles, they always end up breaking up. You know what I mean?
We'll see how long this lasts.
Right.
She does lead him to the title.
So there's a bunch of stuff going on within the ring. Lita hits a big diving Rana on somebody. So Kurt pulls her out of the ring. Stephanie posts her.
Oh, so it was one of the other booking things I was talking about. They get the heat on Matt for 5 years. And every time he's almost there, the heels cheat to prevent him from making the tag. Mm-hmm. That's why Lita cheats to put one over on the heels. So it wasn't just like the woman manager just doing something for the hell of it like they do nowadays. Like, there was a reason she did it. She was fed up with them cheating. So then I noticed, of course, that once she does that, they have to have Stephanie post her and lay her out. Because it's all about Steph.
Yes.
And then they do the big comeback and...
So Rock gets the hot tag. The best part, and it occurred to me watching this, that I have seen this in 1,000 matches, but it's the best part of every match. Kurt gets the tag seconds before Rock gets the hot tag. And as Kurt is in the ring, Rock tags in, and Kurt has a reaction.
Yes.
A negative reaction.
Yes.
A panic attack.
He puts his hands up, he takes 2 steps back, and then he starts to run and gets hit.
He goes backwards, he like shakes his arms and head in fear, and then charges. It's like something out of a Godzilla movie.
Yeah, and it's great.
And because it's WWF, it's always shot from the exact same back angle, so you never see his face, which actually makes it funnier. It's all in body language. And I can't wait to watch this over and over again. So, big comeback. Everybody's flying around doing stuff. All 6 dudes and both women, I think, get involved. And finally, Rock has Kurt pinned. The champion has his challenger pinned with a rock bottom, but Stephanie, the ref is distracted. Stephanie breaks up the pin, so Rock goes after her. He gets double teamed. A bunch of other stuff happens. Jeff goes up top. Jeff Galulis him with a crowbar to the knee. He falls down, and Kurt pins him with an angle slam. So the challenger wins via cheating.
Thanks to Stephanie.
And just in case this all wasn't perfect enough as the go-home segment for the go-home main event, The Rock lays out both Edge and Christian to stand triumphant and remind you all he is still the dude until proven otherwise. And Rock and Angle shout at each other, and the show goes off the air.
You know, I can't help but notice that many times we have reviewed a show, and when it was over, we've said, that was the go-home show.
Yes.
Well, lo and behold, the pay-per-view has Stephanie McMahon leading Kurt Angle to the WWE title. And lo and behold, they have a well-booked, excellent go-home show to that match.
Sure.
Wow.
Good.
Yeah, the last thing you see is Rock standing tall in the ring and Angle and Stephanie arm in arm going up the ramp.
Yeah.
Are you ready for your music, Vinny?
As ready as I shall ever be.
All right, here we go.
The finishes on this show were ref stoppage due to injury, clean pin in a terrible tag match, clean submission, no finish in an impromptu challenge match that went 20 seconds and I don't know why they even bothered, clean pin in a tag match, pin after distraction and ball shot, and pin after interference with crowbar. WWF Monday Night Raw, October 23rd of the year 2000.
It's so good I almost want to go second, but I don't want to ruin this. I don't want to change things. You might review Raw twice if I try and switch it around.
Great.
No.
We open with the Yokozuna Memorial video. We just watched his debut on Superstars a week or two ago. Here is his
Baffling how this happens.
an amazing coincidence. And then Yokozuna's cousin, Rikishi, comes out to open the show. He got new mean guy music to go with his Hawaiian shirt and shorts.
You mean he doesn't come out with the Too Cool song?
Right.
It's top heel,
He does not.
even though he's not top heel? I don't know who the top heel is.
That's well, you would think Kurt.
He ran over Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Well, I realize that, but he's not really the top heel.
Well, no.
Like it
The
feels,
truth is, the top 3 guys are all baby faces right now.
but it's wrong. Like, I don't understand how Triple H is a babyface. It just doesn't make any sense. It's completely nonsensical. Kurt, I understand, but not Triple H. It's just weird.
So Rikishi says Austin will not be there tonight. He'll be in jail.
Yeah, because he says that Stone Cold Steve Austin in the year 2000 can't make bail.
They brought this up a couple times.
Okay, it's not that there is no bail. You know what I mean? No. He's not held without bail. Yeah. There is an amount he can pay, but he can't come up with it.
He's short on cash.
Wow.
This is straight out of 2019.
If it was Ric Flair, I could believe it.
Sort of.
Yeah, because all the money's on the hotels and women. Regardless, Rikishi says there was a tragedy last night, and The Rock is no longer WWF champion. He was not there to hurt The Rock. He was there to support The Rock. And though we lost the battle, we will win the war. He calls The Rock out to say something to his face.
Now, before The Rock comes out, we have to note that there was a pay-per-view, and it was the Steve Austin, Rikishi, no-holds-barred street fight.
Right.
It ended in an arrest.
Yes.
Okay. Steve Austin did something so hellacious that he has been arrested and bail has been set at a fee that he cannot match.
Some obscene dollar amount.
I mean, what? It'd have to be like $30 million at this point. So Steve Austin can't get out of jail. Meanwhile, the victim, Rikishi, is here on this show with a Band-Aid on his head.
Who, by the way, admitted to running over Stone
Yes,
Cold
he
Steve
tried to
Austin.
kill somebody.
No bail, no jail time.
This show is really dumb, but I liked it.
They mentioned, well, they get into this, but the difference is Steve Austin did not press charges against whoever it was that ran him down.
I see.
But Rikishi did the ultimate act of villainy in the World Wrestling Federation, which is to press charges.
Listen, I'm no lawyer,
No.
but I have a feeling that if on this show, like I committed a heinous act against you or Rob, and it was like on video for the world to
and
see,
confess to it.
but Rob decided not to press charges, I have this feeling that maybe the law could still come after me. You know what I'm saying?
I can't say you're wrong.
It's just, I don't understand this.
So Rikishi apologizes to The Rock. The Rock, to make a long story short, does not accept the apology. Rikishi says Rock is hurting his feelings.
Yeah,
That was were his exact words.
you're hurting my feelings.
So Rock says more hurtful things.
Yes.
Rikishi threatens to tell the whole world something. Rock tells him to leave and never wants to see him again. Rikishi says he's going, but he will always be there for The Rock.
Except when he's going to tell the whole world
I
something,
guess.
which he didn't do.
So The Rock bottomed him, and that was it. All I know is when this is done, we were only 13 minutes into the show.
Yes.
Fine. So they're going over a bunch of matches in the show tonight. One of which is Lita versus Trish in a bra and panties match.
Yes.
They announce the match to the viewers at home. And then we go to the segment where the match is booked. That was weird. Foley's in his office with Trish and Lita. He confirms that even though they are two great athletes, they're so eager to get their hands on each other and humiliate each other. This is the match they want. He books the match. At one point, Lita says, I'll do anything to get my hands on Trish as she's standing 3 feet away. Go get her. She's right there. So yeah, that match is on for tonight.
It's next.
It is next. First, there's a camera showing an entrance ramp where Steve Austin might show up.
This was kind of silly.
Lita and Trish are doing this bra and panties match, and Trish is wearing she's wearing panties.
She comes out in booty shorts.
I'm like, how can you...
You've already lost, girl.
There's nothing under those, right? I was wrong, by the way.
Yes.
There actually was something under them, but it looked like she came out at a handicap.
Yes,
And-
she spotted Lita, spotted Lita in early lead.
This starts out as your normal 2000 WWE women's cat fight. They're just rolling around, tearing each other's clothes off. All of a sudden, a professional wrestling match breaks out.
Wasn't it weird?
And Trish gives her a vertical suplex, and Lita gives her a back suplex. And then Lita hits a moonsault and tears off Trish's clothes, and she has won the bra and panties match. Then RTC's music hits. They let him do the whole match
Right.
and tear each other's clothes off.
Yes.
Then they came out. And they must have been caught in traffic, I'm sure.
So during the match, when Lita's shirt gets torn off, she's wearing like a shiny gold bra. Jerry Lawler, being Jerry Lawler, begins to scream, bra, 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 in a high-pitched nasal tone. And Jim Ross, he's like, look, JR, a bra. And Jim Ross says, yes, King, I've seen a bra before. So yes, Trish gets stripped down to her tiny, tiny little thong and loses. And there's a convenient silk black robe there for her to throw on and storm out, and then RTC comes out. Steven Richards says the WWF and both of these women and the fans should all be ashamed of themselves. And he introduces the newest member of the Right to Censor, Ivory. Ivory comes out in the best school marm outfit. She's wearing a shirt buttoned all the way up to the collar. It's got a little like almost like a bolo tie. And she's wearing a skirt that goes from her waist to like below her feet. It's incredibly chaste, this woman. She says, talking about how being a woman and all this, and she says, we have been led to believe that low-cut blouses with breasts billowing out is sexy.
Yes.
We've been led to believe that.
I laughed. Skirts that expose the mid to upper thigh is what men want to see. Real men, she says, want to see women for the beauty they possess inside. Look at the two of you. And at this point, Trish Stratus, who had been put on a robe to cover up, opens the robe and says, yes, look at me.
Yeah, the women in the ring are so proud to be nude on television.
Yes.
Ivory says, this is not right. I am speaking up for all of the women of America.
Pause
At
right
which
there.
point, all of the men boo.
Except one man you could hear, take your shirt off.
I did hear that.
Well, the men. She says she's speaking for the women.
Yes.
And the men, it's like we were in Saudi Arabia. Like she's speaking for the women, but only the men have a voice.
Sort of. Yeah.
That's what's happening here.
Yeah.
Except the two women in the ring who are happy to be nude, even though they were embarrassed to be nude moments earlier. Ivory is the absolute best person to play this role.
That's true.
Because you can dress her up in that blouse and the long skirt and tie her hair back, and she's just perfect for this role.
She looks frumpy.
Very shrill voice.
She's perfect.
She's scolding these women on the way they're behaving. So on behalf of all women, she says, I say no more. The segment ends and Jim Ross is disgusted. She's acting like my high school English teacher, who never married, by the way. A subtle hint of an insult there. So at the pay-per-view, Matt and Jeff Hardy lost the tag team titles to Los Conquistadores. Michael Cole is interviewing Edge and Christian and the new champs, the Conquistadors.
Oh, God, this is... I hate Michael Cole. Have I ever mentioned that before in the history of this show?
Once or twice.
Sounds
you know
familiar.
what's funny? You know what's funny is I hate Coach, but when I watch Coach on this show, Coach is actually great. Cole is as horrible as ever.
Well, Coach is kind of new still.
So Cole goes to interview the Conquistadors, and he's all cocky and annoying. Well, how can you possibly defend the belts against Edge and Christian tonight? And then Edge and Christian walk up, and he just looks like an idiot.
I must not have been paying attention. I missed Michael Cole saying ho, ho, ho.
It's just so dumb. And Edge and Christian show up and they tell Cole to hit the bricks. He's just so annoying and infuriating. I'm off my television forever, and he sucks. And he's been on this television show for 19 years, just making the show bad. I was so mad during the segment. You know what else? This Conquistadors gimmick, okay? So Edge and Christian have been told that as long as the Hardys are the tag team champions, they can never get a championship match again.
Right.
So this mystery team, the Conquistadors, show up. One is tall, and the other is kind of almost as tall, but he's really skinny with giant feet. And it's patently obvious who they are. And of course, they go to the pay-per-view, and they win the tag titles, okay? So then they do this deal where Michael Cole thinks, the Conquistadors must be Edge and Christian, but then Edge and Christian are right there. I mean, it's so obvious where it's all going, like the moment this thing starts, okay? So I'm watching this and I'm going, this is great. This is great. We could go on with this for a good 3 weeks before the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's my thought too.
Okay. Well, I won't say what happened yet. We'll get to it. But the gist of it is, they kill it off tonight. And not only do they kill it off, but everything that was so great about it, they strip away at the very end, and they bang you over the head with it because you are an absolute moron. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I do. So yes, Edge and Christian interrupt. They say this proves there was no agenda or conspiracy between the two teams. They tell Michael Cole to beat it. They go back to the ramp. And I guess they didn't have anyone saying, hey, we're filming here. This low-rent, beat-up station wagon drives down the ramp. Like, wait, who's this? Well, it's not Stephanie McMahon and Kurt Angle, I'll tell you this much. And we never did find out who was driving this station wagon.
I'm guessing the janitor.
I think it was like a wrong turn. Somebody just lost and pulled into the
In
arena.
the parking lot of an arena?
into the arena on accident.
Okay.
Benoit comes out for a promo.
See, this right here. So, we are told that last night it was Benoit versus Triple H, okay? We're also told that Triple H won when Stephanie McMahon screwed Chris Benoit to cost him the match. Mm-hmm. At which point, Chris Benoit comes out and says, well, hard work and dedication mean nothing in this company. Being the best wrestler in the company means absolutely nothing. I'm watching this going, and he's the heel, and Hunter is the babyface.
Yes.
So I got this right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, he says all that stuff. Success is not gauged by wrestling ability in this company, he says. Hunter, you got a win last night. You did not beat me. You got help from, as he says, your bitch of a wife. You did not prove me wrong. You pissed me off. I'm going to set an example with your friend, the Road Dogg. Starting tonight, Things will be different. Nothing and no one will stop me because my time is now.
Do you remember when we first started watching Nitro and Chris Benoit showed up? And I don't know I think it might have been me and Tom. Me and Tom watched all of the Royal Rumbles in order week by week.
Yeah.
And one day we're watching the Royal Rumble and there's Chris Benoit, and this would have been probably the 2000 Royal Rumble. Would have to be, right? 2000 Royal Rumble.
No earlier.
Whatever year it was. Maybe it was 2001, but it doesn't matter. Whatever the first Royal Rumble he was in. And I was shocked because when we were watching Benoit on Nitro, it was like a totally different guy. And then when I saw him in WWE in 2001 with his short hair and his way more jacked up body and his way more freaky looking face, I was like, dude, I'm actually uncomfortable watching Chris Benoit now.
Yeah.
And I wasn't uncomfortable watching him when he was on those Nitro shows because he looked like a different guy and he never talked and he had the mullet. Anyway, the point of this is the closer we get to 2006, the less I think I can watch Chris Benoit. It's already way more uncomfortable than it was when we started watching him on Nitro.
That's definitely true.
Thank God we're almost done with this Monday Night Wars thing. We can start watching something else.
He's talking more. He's
creepy.
creepy. He's harassing or threatening and menacing women.
Yes.
All sorts of terrible things. So, they're doing a match. They plugged the WWF cookbook, Can You Take the Heat? My buddy Greg had his kitchen redone, actually the whole house redone, but I went to go see his new house this weekend. On his bookshelf in his pantry is a copy of Can You Take the Heat?
Wow.
I should have asked what was in there. They plugged Chyna's guacamole salad recipe. Sounds nice. So, they're doing this match.
This kid is not happy, by the way. He's been
cat
crying
or the-
for a long
Kind of a
time.
kid. They also say Triple H will be on Regis plugging his recipe from the book, which I can only imagine is the biggest, thickest steak you ever saw. Malenko distracts the Road Dogg. Haven't seen Malenko in weeks. Benoit puts in the crossface. He wins, and Lillian announces the winner as Chris Jericho.
God, look at this. You can still buy Can You Take the Heat? The WWF is cooking. $20.95, and it looks like
Got no discount.
that's weird.
that on
Only
Amazon?
one left in stock.
Oh, it's some guy that bought it years
But
ago.
there are 76 new and used. You can get as low as $5.17
There you
used.
go.
I'm sure lots of Instant Pot and air fryer recipes in there. Because it's old and dated.
I got it.
Michael Cole interviews Rikishi. His question for Rikishi is, seriously,
God.
why are you still here?
He literally says, your relationship with The Rock appears to be floundering. Nobody wants you here.
Fans don't want you here. Your peers don't want you here.
Great interview, Cole.
Well, oddly
Like-
enough, Rikishi could have asked Cole the same question.
I can't believe Rikishi didn't try and run him over. Rikishi says, family business, I'll be here all night. I'm not sure we ever saw him again.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, we did? Okay.
Twice. So Coach
Made quite the impression on me.
asks Hunter about beating Benoit last night. Hunter says, yes, he is the best damn technical wrestler I've ever been in the ring with, but I proved him wrong. And then Coach asks, Stephanie came out with you for that match. Later, she was in Kurt Angle's corner and helped him win. And Hunter gets very mad and says, my business with my wife is my business, not yours. Last night, Kurt Angle put Stephanie in harm's way, and she got hurt. Now I'm going to hurt
Honestly,
Kurt Angle.
first the baby and now the cat.
Keep going, Vince.
What do I got to do to this house? Snuggie, get out of here.
I'm far more interested in what's going on out there. Someday you realize he's going to build a little shed in the backyard.
No,
while-
he's not.
While I'll be out there.
He's not building nothing.
Well, okay, yeah. He'll pay someone to build a shed.
All right, where were we?
So he threatens to hurt Kurt Angle, and if Rock puts his hands on his wife, I'll put my hands on the Rock. So we get a clip. They talked about Austin, Rikishi, and Jalen and all this. Here was the first time in the show they actually show what happened.
Still photos.
Still photos, of course. They still want you to buy the pay-per-view.
Of course.
Austin shows up in his pickup truck. He backs it down to the ring. He gets in a fight with Rikishi, busts him open with a steel chair, throws him into the bed of the truck, drives him out in the parking lot, sits him down on the ground with his back to a wall, backs up his pickup truck, and then drives forward to kill him. The police officers zoom in out of nowhere to block the path with their car. So Austin hits the cop car twice. We are then told one of the cops went to the hospital. Brian, I'm seeing your point about it not mattering whether Rikishi pressed charges or not.
See? What'd I tell you?
We are told, seriously, hundreds of cops arrived.
Hundreds?
Hundreds.
Wow.
More than 200.
Where was this pay-per-view at?
I don't know. Did they say that?
Find out.
They took Steve Austin to jail, and they said Steve Austin has been negotiating to get his cash to get his bail all day.
Negotiating to get his cash?
And Lawler says
Is it all tied up in bonds?
he doesn't have the cash. We get a clip from the APA's office where Crash Holly is there. He's on the phone. He thanks Mr. Farouk and Mr. Bradshaw for letting them watch their office while they're recuperating from their injuries they suffered at the pay-per-view. He hangs up and they do this little skit. TNA come in, they mess with him, they carry him, they kick him out, and they take over the office. It suddenly occurred to me here that we deserved to see a Crash Holly Chris Candido tag team.
Sure.
It would have been perfect, and it would have been awesome. And as far as I know, it never happened. And I'm sad.
Well, what I'm sad about is the famous angle where Chris
Yes.
Jericho and Kane began a feud over Jericho accidentally spilling coffee on him was right here. You know what? I thought I remembered this, like what actually happened, but I didn't. It's so lame.
It's incredibly lame.
Like, I knew it was lame, but I thought it was a little more exciting than this. Jericho's doing an interview. He turns around. He accidentally spills coffee on Kane. He says, I hope I didn't burn you. Kane gets mad, and we have like a 9-month feud.
That's the whole deal.
That's what happened.
Speaking of guys who you don't know what side of the fence they're on, Chris Jericho's a babyface mocking a burn victim.
Yes,
true.
that's what happened.
He was also hawking his brand new
I mean, this
CD.
burn victim tried to burn everybody else.
I must correct you, Craig. He was plugging Fozzie's CD
Yes.
with their lead singer,
Mongoose.
Moon Goose McQueen.
Mongoose,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Jericho's merely a fan of the group at this point.
Yeah, that was their first album.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, that was that. Regal comes out for a promo. First he says the most wrestling fans are uncivilized, which is a fact.
Well,
Then he says, in this state of Connecticut, where you produce more handguns that kill more people than any other state in the union. And everyone cheers. And then you have to say that is true. Most handguns are produced here. I had no idea that Connecticut was the handgun capital of the U.S. Also, that is an incredibly tasteless line to use for heel heat. All murders, basically, were exploited. in
that
this
was tasteless, but
promo.
the fans cheered.
I told you they were uncivilized. So Jericho interrupts. He calls him Uptight Willie. And then
Springfield, Massachusetts, birthplace of the $17 billion a year U.S. firearms industry.
well, there you go.
And they have among the strictest gun control laws and lowest shooting death rate in the country. It's an irony.
It's quite amazing. Quite amazing. So we get William Regal versus Chris Jericho in what I think is a WrestleMania preview. And Jericho hits a
I
quebrada.
hope it was better in this match.
Kane attacks to the DQ. Does a big-ass one-arm chokeslam. Kane sure was mighty in this day and age.
Lawler references the lady that spilled coffee on herself at McDonald's and got some ridiculous 7-figure settlement, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
I remember this story vividly because when I was a child, when I was like 7, at the Woodinville McDonald's, my mom sent me to get her a refill. They filled it all the way up to the brim. They did not put a lid on it. It was scalding hot. And as I was carrying it back to the table, I spilled it all over myself. Do you know who did not get a 7-figure settlement?
Yet.
Looking at him.
And to this day, that man thinks coffee is icky.
I think coffee's icky because it tastes horrible.
I believe
Just like beer.
what are you looking for?
Oh, look,
Delicious.
Rob even agrees.
Yes, I agree, Vince.
Yes, Rob?
To be clear, I agree that coffee tastes icky, not so much beer.
I'm well aware of that, Rob.
I got some coffee stouts. It's coffee and beer.
Oh,
Delicious.
explains so much.
So let's see. TNA are in their office. They're going over various logos and catchphrases. The only good thing about any of this is where Albert starts to drink a beer and Test he takes it away from him and says, no, That's why Bradshaw should be wearing a shirt on TV, and hands him a Diet Pepsi. That made me laugh. A limousine arrives. It's Stephanie and Kurt Angle. And that's just a tease them coming back from the break, having the Kurt Angle World Championship victory celebration.
What a celebration this was.
I'll say.
Confetti, balloons,
Pyro, ballyhoo.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You couldn't see the ring. There was so much confetti. It was awesome.
Just a great party this was.
Angle says, I've accomplished more in 1 year than most people accomplish in an entire lifetime. I won the gold medal 4 years ago. Then, 4 years later, I go to WWE. He says, I won the European title. Tourism grew 38% in Europe. Then I won the Intercontinental title in this very city. My favorite line, I became the first ever Eurocontinental champion. Well, aside from D'Lo Brown, but he doesn't count, and we all know that. Won the King of the Ring. Sales of Crown and Scepters grew 49%. And then last night, I won the WWF title. I have got a poem, he says. So he begins to read his poem, and he got cut off.
The poem, okay, go ahead.
But fear not, I wrote down the entire poem.
Did you get the title?
What makes a man super great?
That was Kurt Angle's poem.
Greatness comes in many shapes.
I apologize. You could have just glossed over that.
Do I need a fucking humidifier in here? What is going on?
I coughed. I turned to the...
You've been looking forward to that moment all day, and you ruined it with your coughing. All Brian wanted to do on this show was recite Kurt Angle's poem. That's his whole goal for this entire 90-minute program.
Edit that out in post. Go ahead.
Do I need to get you an iron lung or something? I've never seen a man cough as much as you on this show. Am I wrong, everybody? Don't even look at me. All right, here we go. What makes a man super great? Think I can't solve that problem? I'm muting everyone's mic. Greatness comes in many shapes. Beyond red, white, and blue, it's the addition of the color gold. Yes, indeed, it's true.
I am also sad we did not get more.
Ruin the moment.
Kurt Angle's poem.
Foley interrupted. You know what it should have been? Like, just Foley coughing right in the middle of the guy's poem, and then he comes out. That's what it should have been. Sweating profusely. Should have brought the cat in while I was at it to just start meowing right in the middle of my poem.
I can't control it, Brian. Just
That's
happens.
why I offered a lung. I offered an iron lung. I'll pay for it.
Just like
on The Big Lebowski.
Arthur Digby Sellers?
Yes, Arthur Digby Sellers.
The best thing about this is my contacts were really dry, and I was they're much better now.
All right, anyway, Foley signs a triple threat match.
Well, there's more. That's not more, it's longer.
See, why don't I have one of those buttons? If I had one of those buttons, you wouldn't hear me.
He'd be permanently muted. Where were we?
Do you want to talk about this Foley
No,
thing?
who gives a shit? He signed a three-way. You've already ruined my no swearing gimmick here on this show. Ruined.
When does that start?
It's been going on for weeks, but you know what? Nobody noticed. Which shouldn't surprise me. Where were we?
So the match he books is Angle versus Rock versus Hunter for tonight. Now, as soon as he said this, I knew obviously it's going to be some kind of terrible fuck finish. But still, that's the biggest match they could possibly do without Steve Austin, and they're doing it with a 1 hour build.
Well, it goes to a DQ in a three-way.
That also
So
happened.
who gives a shit?
That also happened. Chyna arrives. She's looking for Eddie. She goes into his dressing room. She finds Mandy and Victoria. And I wrote down, how the hell long was Mandy around? Because I have no memory of Mandy.
I don't either.
Well, I think this may have answered my question, because Chyna says they did her a favor by, throwing off her marriage to Eddie. She would not want to marry that little rat bastard anyways. Really, I should thank you properly. And she gets up and she closes the door, and there's pyro and ballyhoo in there, all sorts of carnage and violence. She opens the door and walks out, and we look inside, and it's supposed to be the women laid out Mandy is on a table, like her head and arms are hanging off. Her leg is up against the wall. She looks like a Michael Myers victim. This may have been where she was written off.
Could be.
I think Chyna killed her.
Could be.
Too Cool versus Taz and Raven.
Taz and Raven out there doing an old school professional wrestling tag team match.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Taz did the best suplex in this match. I wept with joy.
Twice they prevented the worm from occurring, and then Raven actually DDT'd, and Taz pinned Scotty Too High.
Yes. Raven got a win, and he didn't fuck up anything.
Well, I mean, the larger issue is they've beaten these two guys like geeks for weeks now, and now we're supposed to care about them?
Well, there's that.
Taz has been a geek since he walked in the building.
So is Raven.
It's true.
Actually, Taz had one good day. Taz's debut was a good day.
That's true. But
Yeah.
it was all downhill after that.
All done after that. Edge and Christian are backstage going over sunglasses for tonight when in walks the biggest, most swole Pete Gas you ever saw.
He looked like Rick Steiner.
He's just massive.
Pete Gas.
Yes.
So he tells them Foley wants to see them. Christian says, I'm dealing with these sunglasses. Edge, you go handle that.
This was just so great. So tell me, without me telling you what happened, if you can figure out what happened here. Pete Gas walks in. Of all people, Pete Gas walks in and tells Edge and Christian that Foley wants to see them. Edge says, don't worry, I'll go talk to him. He leaves. He comes back and says, oh, Foley wasn't there, but his partner is laying in the rubble of a table. And his partner says, oh, I have been powerbombed through this table by the Dudleys. I can't go tonight in this tag team match. And Edge says, don't worry, little buddy. It's just the Conquistadors. I can handle this myself. That's what happened.
A fine recap, Brian. Mr. Ass versus Val Venis.
Their new entrance. He comes out.
Oh, Mr. Ass and Chyna.
Yes. And China's by his side. He turns around. He's shaking his backside. Chyna leans forward, takes a glance at his backside, looks at him, gives a knowing nod.
Yes.
And they stretch to the ring.
Yes, Mr. Ass. Your glutes look good.
It's ridiculous.
They're grown-ups. So Eddie's out there to distract Chyna. They do a 3-minute TV tag match. Steven Richards grabs Mr. Ass's ankle, gets pulled into the ring. There's two guys in there, not a DQ. Mr. Ass beats them both up and pins Val with a Faymaster. Thank God Chyna was there to even the odds.
So I don't want to complain about the network or anything like that, but every time I fast forward, first it was Apple TV. This week I was like, I'll just watch it on the iPad. Same problem. You skip forward and there's no sound.
Yep.
So I skip forward past whatever, and there's no sound. And I'm just like, screw you. I'm going to watch it without sound. So I'm watching this match without sound. I'm pretty sure I'm missing nothing. And suddenly, the sound comes back. But now it's 10 seconds behind.
Oh, excellent.
It's not even matched up yet. Now I have to rewind and then fast forward to get it synced back up again. There's 1.5 million people paying $10 a month for this network. Can we get this thing fixed? It's been a long time now. I've been trying to be very patient and nice about this, but I'm getting irritated.
Are the WWE 2K guys working on the network?
It might be. Stephanie's backstage with Hunter. I don't know if this makes Hunter a good guy or a bad guy. It makes him very entertaining. He doesn't care about Stephanie or whose corner she's going to be in. But as she is explaining her dilemma with Hunter facing her tonight, she calls Kurt the champ. And Hunter stops her and cuts her off. Don't call him the champ. I laughed. All she wants is for her husband to say, I want you in my corner, and he won't do it. Professionally, he says, he does not want her in his corner. He is only concerned with her safety.
Not only that, he goes, dude, every week we have this same talk.
Which is true.
I don't want you out there.
Edge comes out by himself. He explains that due to a cowardly attack by the Dudleys, he must face the Conquistadors alone.
Okay, so let me take over, because it's my favorite thing on the show. At the beginning, not at the end. So by the way, am I the only one that... Boy, that child's angry. Am I the only one that presumes that the Dudleys didn't actually attack Christian, and this whole thing is just a ploy?
No, they're conveniently not there.
Yeah.
So they're
Yes.
being used as the...
Okay, so this whole thing is like
they're being framed.
Yes, it's a very elaborate plan that Edge and Christian have.
They've put this in motion for months.
So Edge comes out and he looks across the ring and he has a very confused look on his face. This is not Patrick and Clarence, or whatever their gimmick names were. So they lock up and the Conquistador starts overselling everything, taking these wacky bumps. And now Edge is like, yeah, I found some weight or something in catering. Now he's fine with it. So then one of the Conquistadors tries to small package him, and he kicks out, and now he's mad. So he starts beating up this guy, and then, of course, the Conquistadors start making their comeback, and they start doing every Hardy spot that there is. And of course, the girls start to scream, the fans start to cheer, the Conquistador goes up top, it's a perfect senton, gets the pin. I'm like, this is so great. It's just awesome. Then it's WWE. And as the Conquistadors are leaving, just in case you're a total moron, they take off their hoods. It's the Hardys.
So did you think Matt and Jeff were going to wear masks for months?
No, but there's so much you could have done with this. They take off their masks. Foley then comes out, and just in case you're a moron, he's got hidden footage of Edge and Christian and the two hired Conquistadors.
Rick and Sparky.
Rick and Sparky. Maybe it was Bob Holly. Hadn't thought of that. But anyway, just in case you're a moron, they got to explain that part to you. And then, of course, Foley says, well, the bad news is you defied my mandate when you won the tag titles last night. I'm going to allow that match last night to stand. You guys won the tag team titles, but I'm ruling that tonight this match stood as well. So the Hardys are the tag team champions. And just like that, it's over.
It's done.
It's done.
Yes.
Finished.
I had the same thought you did. This could have been dragged out till at least the next pay-per-view. You have Edge and Christian under these masks, defending the titles every week, and trying to win, of course, but have them win when another team runs in and attacks the Dudleys or whatever. They keep getting lucky to win until they have the big match at the pay-per-view of the Conquistadors versus Edge and Christian. Then you do all this stuff. And then you can probably drag out, well, I guess that would have been this match. But
all I know is what they did was so good, and there was so much more they could have done.
Yeah.
But they had to just kill it and explain everything to you because you're a moron.
I did like that the Conquistadors are introduced as hailing from Latin America.
Sure.
Somewhere
like
within that
Granny was talking about-
7.7 million square miles.
Granny talking about the hotel in Canada.
Canada.
I stayed at the hotel in Canada. So this was. That's probably where the Conquistadors work.
Rikishi tells Michael Cole, go tell The Rock I'm going to help him win the title. So you know how they always show clips from WWF New York, and they show a superstar there to show you, the fans, that if you go to WWF New York, you may see a big star? It's low down having dinner with Tiger Ali Singh.
They must have been waiting for the stars to show up.
Got to book a flight right now. So we get Triple H versus The Rock versus Kurt Angle. Here's what they do.
A very good match.
Eventually. First, I think Hunter came out first. Doesn't matter. Hunter come out and Rock comes out. They get the whole entrance, the whole song, light show, everything. This takes like 6 or 7 minutes. They play Angle's whole song all the way through. He does not come out. They play Angle's whole song again. He does not come out. They cut backstage where Stephanie is there with Kurt saying, you're the champion. Make him wait. Kurt says, good idea. And they go to commercial. That was diabolical on the part of the World Wrestling Federation. So yes, we had a match. It's awesome. It's a great TV main event. Because Rock and Hunter still hate each other. They just hate Kurt a little bit more. They do the spot where Kurt's outside and they have a contest to see who can ram Kurt's head into the table the hardest. But then Kurt gets laid out by the ring bell. Angle swings the ring bell. Rock ducks. Hunter eats it and he's down. So Hunter's down. Earl Hebner, the referee, and Stephanie are there tending to him. And then like a dozen more people come out to tend to him. But Earl Hebner does not return to the ring. He's not doing his duties. He's a referee. He's not an EMT. Hunter's being taken care of. Go do your job. So he's missing all sorts of pins in the ring. Eventually, Hunter is wheeled up the ramp. But of course, he is Hunter. So he comes back from the dead to return to the match. When he gets down to the ringside, or he gets back in the ring, he starts beating up Angle, hits him with a pedigree, he makes a cover, The Rock pulls Hunter out of the ring, and The Rock gets booed. I was stunned. So they're doing this match, keeps going, and then Angle gets the belt, and after he is, Angle was in fact barely a year into this business and still learning on the job, so he had to be told many times to get the belt, and then hit Hunter with the belt, and then get the belt again and hit Rock with it as well. Eventually he did. It was a DQ. I knew it was going to be a fuck finish. And it was even more lame than I thought it would be.
I thought Rikishi lurched down and hit Kurt for the DQ. I thought that's what it was. Another dude hit the ring.
That happened as well. After Kurt laid them out.
One way or the other. How do you do a DQ in a three-way?
Like this.
Just ridiculous. And then Austin came out. They hit his music. The place goes absolutely, absolutely crazy.
Made bail.
He comes down. He beats everybody up. Stunners all over the place. Rikishi escapes. I hate Austin's new music, but this was a great moment. And overall, I thought this was a very good show.
Mm-hmm. Austin's music is growing on me. Disagree with you there. But yes, my favorite part of this is that Angle, the match is over. He's making his way up the ramp. Austin's music hits and Angle turns around. Austin comes stampeding down the ramp, clotheslines Angle, doesn't even slow down, just gets his hands on Rikishi. So yes, Ryan, I agree. It was a very good episode of Raw that wrapped up a lot of storylines and also built new ones. That's a good show.
All right, here we go.
The finishes on this show were clean finish in a bra and panties match, submission after distraction, DQ due to interference, clean pin despite interference, clean pin in a worked shoot that was supposed to be a work, and a DQ in a triple threat after belt shots and interference. WWF Monday Night Raw, October 30th of the year 2000. So on SmackDown, Austin had promised to Mick Foley that he would not lay a finger on Rikishi until their pay-per-view match. But then Rikishi baited him into fighting, but somebody ambushed Austin, hit him with a wrench, bloodied him up. Austin went to fight Rikishi anyway, but was overwhelmed, got beat up, and splashed.
A very comical wrench shot, I might add. You couldn't see who did it. You just saw a wrench.
It may as well have been a giant mallet, like Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, it should have been, actually. That's allowed.
Apparently. Anyway, Chyna comes out, and she shows a video from Heat, where Eddie Guerrero brought out the cat, who is now dressed up like Chyna, and they're calling her Chynette, which made me laugh.
You know the ironies. We always talk about the ironies of these shows. Last night, Jerry Lawler hosted Divorce Court,
Well,
where Rusev had to lay on his back and watch Lashley make out with his wife. And 19 years ago this week, Jerry Lawler did commentary as Eddie Guerrero made out with his wife.
that is actually true.
Isn't that weird?
That is very weird.
So bizarre.
So Eddie made out with the cat, and as he left, the cat was giving him some bedroom eyes, or as Lawler himself said, which honestly, I completely forgot this was his wife until right now, but as he said about his wife, there's a look you can pour on a waffle.
That's what he said.
What in the hell does that mean?
Fills all the holes.
Oh my.
Oh,
I mean, I guess. I don't know.
wow.
Do you have something better?
Almost anything.
It's sweet and sticky.
Hey.
That from my head to my feet. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. Chyna says she is over Eddie. He has challenged her to a match, but she will only accept if he puts the IC title on the line. You broke my heart, she says. You broke my trust. The only thing left to break is you. So we get Eddie Guerrero versus Chyna.
Listen, I know that both of these individuals had some substance abuse problems in their lifetime. I don't want to accuse either of them or of anything, but this match was horrible. And if I recall correctly, the last time they were in the ring together, I said that had to have been Chyna's greatest match of all time when she was in there with Eddie. They couldn't do anything. Everything Chyna did looked so horrible. In there with Eddie Guerrero, I was astounded by how bad this match was.
I describe this as Eddie versus a muscular broom with implants. And I stand by that. So Chynette gets in the ring. Chyna presses her on Eddie, and the crowd goes crazy. But as the ref is getting her out of the ring, Steven Richards runs in, super kicks Chyna. Eddie gets the pin. And then Mr. Ass makes a save, attacking Eddie Guerrero.
Whoop-de-doo.
A limousine arrives. Kurt Angle and Edge...
Actually, I have one more thing to say about that match. When Stevie hit the Stevie kick, okay, he lays out Chyna with the kick, and he leaps through the ropes to leave. And then he realizes, I'm on the wrong side. I need to escape so the hard camera can see me. And so he gets back into the ring and then escapes again on the hard cam side.
Tremendous.
I'm like, I hate WWE sometimes. It's like, it's so phony in their attempt to make it so great. You must face this hard camera. This poor idiot had to jump out of the ring, get back in the ring, and jump out of the ring again just to be on the right side.
So limousine arrives. It is Kurt Angle along with his new buddies, Edge and Christian. Edge announces, first of all, it's his birthday. Second of all, they have the night off thanks to Stephanie. Angle says, yes, thanks to Stephanie, I don't have to defend my WWF championship. And then Stephanie gets out of the car, and she's sick.
When I saw Stephanie sick on the show, I was like, I cannot take 2 more hours of people being sick. People have been sick in this house for 6 days
Did you keep your baby away from the TV?
And the first thing that comes on this show is Stephanie getting out of this limo. She's sneezing, blowing her nose, shaking hands with everybody. Like, I can't take it.
19 years ago this week, of all things, the XFL draft happened.
Wow.
Amazing coincidence.
I bet you it went off better than this year's.
As far as I know, everyone in the year 2000 who was drafted actually showed up, which is already not happening in the new one. Al Snow arrives at the announce desk with a tray of candy to bribe Jerry Lawler to team with him to face Raven and Taz.
It is amazing that, like, the whole thing with the XFL is, it's 19 years later, we'll get it right this time. And already...
So far, it's worse.
It's worse. It's like, dude, this guy can't do anything right. God bless Vince McMahon. He can't do anything right anymore. It's amazing and sad. Longtime WWE fan.
So Lawler's very annoyed with Al Snow, like most people, but says he will think about it to get Al to shut up. The Good Father and Bull Buchanan and Ivory versus the Hardys and Lita. Ivory has an announcement to make. Superstars, she says, do not realize the responsibility of being role models. That includes the Hardys and Lita. Their hair, the clothes, the company they keep, a disgrace to everyone who looks up to them. That includes Lita, who is cheap, and Lita competing in bra and panties matches makes her sick. And as she explains, I can't believe how much I wrote about this, the tops of your underwear coming out from the top of your pants sends a message that all women are just objects, and that will not be tolerated. So they finally do this match. Ivory's gimmick of wrestling in this big giant skirt that she has to grab and pull up like a granny to throw kicks, like a witch.
And not just that, she's got to wear these boots with a 4-inch heel on them to accommodate the skirt.
Yes.
She tries to throw a kick. She's got to pull her skirt all the way up to throw the kick.
But it makes her a worse wrestler, which fits the gimmick.
Right.
It makes you more annoyed with them.
You know what I need is more bad wrestling on this show in the year 2000.
You got a lot of bad wrestling in this match. It was very clunky. It was very clumsy. My favorite part is Matt screaming at the top of his lungs at the women to get them into position for a 3-on-2
All
DDT
they were going to
spot.
do was a 3-person DDT. Mm-hmm. He has to scream at everybody and then do the loudest countdown I've ever heard.
3, 2, 1, go!
Listen, I'm not saying I was the greatest wrestler of all time. I don't ever remember having to do a countdown for a move ever. I've seen people do countdowns for like a suplex. Like they hook the guy and they're like, 1, 2, 3. I'm like, you had to count to 3 to time a vertical suplex? You know what I'm saying?
It's a throw. Just throw him.
And you suplexed me.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
No.
I very much
Well,
remember that.
what I do know if it happened was I didn't count to 3. I
I know we didn't.
can tell you that much.
Craig probably went on 2 anyway.
Probably.
Anyway, Matt dives onto the dudes outside. Lita dives onto him. Jeff sentons Ivory.
Lita somehow dove onto a pile of humans and still almost killed herself. And they actually caught her. I don't think I've ever seen that.
While holding Matt.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So, for the second match in a row, Steven Richards runs in and super kicks somebody, in this case, Jeff, and he put Ivory on top, and the right to censor won. Cut back to the dressing room. Edge and Christian are so happy the Hardys have lost. Christian gets Edge his birthday present, 2 birthday presents. First is their new t-shirt. A fitting present on your birthday. And
I'd
also,
be cool with that.
also a Rock Bend'em, so they can stick his own foot up his ass. Kurt is annoyed by their shenanigans. He's mostly just concerned about Steph.
She's hacking her lungs out. Jiminy Christmas. Like literally during the show, I went into Paisley's room because she hacked so long that she barfed. Now I'm back here watching Stephanie hacking her lungs out here.
So Hunter is upset to find all this going on in his dressing room. He tells Steph she's in no condition to be there. And suddenly she runs to the bathroom as Edge and Christian play rock, paper, scissors. 2 dudes are standing in the locker room with the cameras on them when Rikishi comes out and says, Tony! That's Tony Gurria, for those of you who even know who that is these days. He tells Tony to tell The Rock I want to see him, and if Rock won't see me, I'm going to come see him.
Why did this need to take place?
I don't know, but I do love that Rikishi said,
answer.
Rock, you need to tell The Rock that either comes to see me or I go to see him. And then Rock went to see him.
No, Rikishi went to see him.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah.
No, I just saw the meeting.
William Regal cuts a promo. He has an issue with the people of Boston and their Boston Tea Party. If they had a problem with taxes, they should have filed a complaint with King George, not dressed as natives, and thrown perfectly good tea into the harbor. Now, they have not been behaving well, so he has a list of 127 ways Bostonians can improve their lives. First is that chowder and beans are fine as long as a napkin is present. Number 2, basically he says, don't be so bitter just because your baseball team never wins any championships. Boy, was this a dated reference.
I'll say.
So Undertaker comes out to kill him. He goes to give him the last ride.
Oh, gosh.
And William Regal's a big dude. And their timing was off the first one. So he drops him like halfway.
They should have counted.
And maybe they should have, actually. He drops him like halfway and then herks him back up and gets him up. And this is one of those times where it actually made him more impressive.
Yeah.
it was not a clean lift. He had to herk this very large person up
He should have counted to
over
3.
his shoulders. That's a good joke, Brian. It's a good thing no one had made it before.
I got a lot of things going on over here, Vinny. I'm trying to run a show.
The Rock is on the phone when Rikishi storms in because The Rock didn't go see him,
Oh,
Brian.
so he went into his office. I
Yeah.
got it. Well, he didn't give The Rock enough time. What's he in such a hurry? If he's in such a damn hurry, why don't you just go into his office?
Well,
I'm
he
going to
did.
tell this guy to tell The Rock to come see me. Hey, he's not here yet. I'm going to go in his office. That literally was like 2 seconds ago that we talked about that.
Rock tells Rikishi to stay out of his life. Rikishi's appalled after all he has done for The Rock. Says, I just need a little help with my cage match with Austin. Do you have my back? Cage match. Do you have my back?
Yeah.
All right. Rock says, yes, I have your back. And then he walks out of his own locker room.
Yeah, he's got things to do, Vinny.
And Rikishi says, Rock owes me one.
So we've determined, factually, The Rock is a liar.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
Okay.
TNA are still redesigning the APA's office.
Where's the APA at?
Tess tries to get a Max Mini joke in, and boy, did that just fall flat.
A little bit.
I just like they poured out the bowl of candy, and Albert was so happy to see it until Tess pulled it away and gave him diet soda again. And then
I was happy they were in front of a live crowd because Tess would have probably said the joke a second time.
Yeah, Crash came in after making the fat jokes. It was time for the short jokes. 19 years later, short jokes. They were not funny then either. And that was it. It leads to Test versus Crash in a hardcore match. So they immediately brawl back to the stage, where Test jumps off the stage just to drop a trash can lid on the head of Crash as he's standing there. You're 300 pounds. Don't jump off the stage and land on your feet for no reason. There are so many spots in the show where you could hear guys calling spots and it made it funnier. Test gets in the ring, shouts at Crash to get the stick, and then he turns his back to talk to Trish. So Crash can hit him in the back. Crash, I guess, shoots on him instead, and he takes off his t-shirt and jumps on his back to choke him with it, and you could tell Test did not know this was coming. Goes on for a while.
Nobody cared about any of this.
No, the announcers are teasing that Adam Sandler will appear on SmackDown.
Whoop-de-doo.
And Test puts the trash can on Crash, hits a top rope elbow, and pins him.
I am so sick of hardcore matches.
Oh, yeah.
This was completely forgettable. The crowd didn't even care. Like, if you're doing a match and I don't like it, but the crowd's into it, then fine. But the crowd didn't care about this either. It's Crash Holly versus Test.
The only one that cared was they showed Steve Blackman watching on a monitor.
Oh, thank you, Craig. Yes. Steve Blackman got to scout the rest of this hardcore division.
Right.
They hit each other with stuff. Those are Steve Blackman's notes. So for Edge's birthday...
Stick defense.
For Edge's birthday, Kurt got him a framed letter. That was the whole gift. He's just focused on Steph being healthy. And then a classic moment as Edge and Christian play their theme song on a kazoo.
Yeah.
This is like famous.
It's horrible.
And you watch it and you're like, why? What is so funny about this?
They have kazoos.
They have kazoos.
It's funny.
Hunter kicks them out. They try to play, at least when they play their song on kazoo, I could recognize it. The song they played for Hunter was not Hunter's theme. It never has been.
No.
Now, Hunter freaked out at them and kicked them out. I think Hunter's freak out is what made this famous. Because irritated Hunter is
It's
always
usually
funny.
the reaction that's the funny thing.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
the actual.
Yeah.
Kind of like when you do it. Anyway, go ahead.
Where were we?
Michael Cole interviews Austin. He says, Rikishi did not attack me by myself, or did not beat me by himself on SmackDown. Whoever hit me with that wrench, go ahead and come on down and watch this cage match. Bottom line is, it doesn't matter who Rikishi asks for help. I'm going to leave him bloodier than he left me. I'm going to stun his ass and beat him in the middle of the ring, and that's the bottom line.
So The Rock did not have Rikishi's back, and the son of a bitch that hit Austin with the wrench also did not come out.
Right.
And the great thing about this was Austin did exactly what he said he was going to do.
Yes, a babyface promised
Amazing.
in detail what he was going to do, and then delivered. Angle's watching this Austin promo. Very impressed with Steve Austin's anger. He's glad he's not
Dude.
facing Austin tonight.
This was one of the great moments on this show because Hunter tells Stephanie, "You're too sick. What I need you to do is get your stuff, get in the limo, and get back to the hotel." And Stephanie McMahon says, "Fine, I'll leave. But I do not want to miss Steve Austin and Rikishi in a cage match. I'll leave after that." I was blown away. Like, we watched this stupid show today, and like, clearly nobody actually watches the show. Like, they do these angles where nobody knows what's going on the other shows. Everyone's poor. They're all geeks. Here we are. Stephanie actually wants to watch the big matches on the show.
It's important.
She's dying, but before she goes back to the hotel, she can't miss this match.
That's right.
I loved that. That was my favorite thing on the whole show. I don't know why.
Because it made what you were watching seem important.
Yes, it was so endearing.
Instead of telling you, the viewer, you're wasting your time watching our dumb show.
Yes, it was like, this match is so important that Stephanie is going to risk death to watch this match here live in the building. That's how big a fan she is.
My favorite part is she makes this announcement, and then Kurt Angle, ever the brown noser, just says, "I trust your judgment, Stephanie." So we get Steve Austin versus Rikishi in a cage match. So there's a door, it's just hanging open. And like 2 minutes in, Rikishi just goes out. And I'm like, what the hell? And it turns out this is not an escape the cage match. You must pin your opponent.
I just was dying. Like,
But you can just go in and out whenever you want.
the moment they started a cage match, and then 2 minutes later they just got out of the cage and started brawling, I'm like, why am I watching this?
Yes, why is there cage?
What am I doing with my life? And it wasn't even a bad match. It was actually a pretty good match. It was definitive. But Why was this in a cage?
So Rikishi could bleed.
You can run him into the post.
Understood.
In fact, I think that's how he did bleed.
Well, no, Austin threw the door into his head, and he bled. And
All right.
as promised, Rikishi bled more here than Austin did on SmackDown. They did some stuff, went back and forth, and Austin threw him in the cage about 4 times in a row and hit a stunner and pinned him.
You're really underselling this door shot.
All right.
He blasted him with the door. I don't even know if he had a gig. It was bad.
I can confirm he did. But yeah, he did slam the door into his head, which is, Rikishi, the door's coming. You can't put your hand up.
That's true.
So that was it. They delivered what was promised, and Austin was a man of his word. After the break, Rikishi is helped to the back. So Hunter and Kurt are walking steps to the limousine, and they're both being all buddy-buddy and being very, very sweet to her. And then finally, she gets in the car, and I guess nobody's smart enough, the driver, because they just stand there for like 10 seconds before it pulls away. And then Kurt says something about how great it is they're on the same page. And then, of course, Hunter's whole mood changes.
So great. They're just standing there, and Steph leaves, and Hunter's smiling, and Kurt's smiling, and they're shoulder to shoulder.
Best buds you ever saw.
Kurt goes, man, I'm so happy that you and I could get on the same page. And Hunter's smiling, and then he just stops smiling. He says, I hope you brought your gear, because you're in for a long night. And he leaves. Kurt's like, I thought I was going to wrestle tonight. He was. And he knew what was coming.
I don't know if any of us knew exactly what was coming.
Dude, we all knew what was coming, Vinny.
Not to the degree we got it, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Al Snow tries to bribe Jerry Lawler again with much more appropriate gifts. A pitcher of lemonade and a giant stack of Playboy magazines. All the same issue, but hey, it's Jerry Lawler. Who knows? Steven Richards.
I could spread them out on different pages. Go on.
Has a promo, speaking of Playboy, a promo for Mr. Ass. Says that it's a repulsive, disgusting, unacceptable name. Challenges Mr. Gunn for the opportunity to censor this profane name. Basically says, if I win, you can't be Mr. Ass anymore. And Mr. Ass accepts the challenge. But if I win, you have to put your lips on these lips and points to the kissy faces on his ass.
Okay. So, this whole thing is stupid, okay? But Mr. Ass has been Mr. Ass for years.
Like, at least 3, yeah.
Okay. So his name, Mr. Ass, is on the line here.
His ass is on the line.
It's name versus kiss his ass. Mr. Ass versus kiss my ass. Whatever. It's stupid, but it's something.
If you're going to do it.
And more so than that, it's actually something real in a fake sport. If he loses, he can't be Mr. Ass anymore. And if he wins, this other guy has to kiss the guy on the ass.
No more Mr. Ass merchandise.
Exactly. So, my point is,
he could be losing an ass load.
The match is 90 seconds long. It sucks.
You can't see any of it because they're focusing on what's going on outside.
There's nothing to it.
It's all Chyna and Val fighting.
Bunch of dudes get involved and Chyna. And then Ass hits the Fame-Asser. Eddie hits Ass with the belt.
Well,
Stevie gets the pin.
Eddie misses a belt shot by 6 inches and Billy lays down and gets pinned.
God, I couldn't believe my eyes. I'm not even saying announce the match this week and then pay it off next week. I'm not even saying announce it at the Open and then do it later. But if you're going to do the match, did it have to be 90 seconds? It just made it seem so pointless. And it's actually kind of, sort of, not really a big deal. You know what I mean? It's Mr. Ass.
I sure do, Brian. I really do.
You do know what I mean. Who cares that he's not Mr. Ass anymore? But he was Mr. Ass for years.
Darn, he's going to have to be Billy Gunn now.
I'm not sure which is worse.
Mr. Ass is worse.
Yeah. Definitely.
Probably.
So Foley's in his workshop for some reason. He's got a carpentry gimmick now.
Yes. I think he was in the bowels of...
honestly, he was Billy Gunn because he was a cowboy.
He had a brother named Bert.
Yeah, sure. But he's not a cowboy anymore. He's a guy that shakes his ass. So technically, Mr. Ass actually is a better name than Billy Gunn. Think he's going to show up next week in a cowboy hat?
He might.
Vinny,
I hope he does.
you think he's going to show up next week in a cowboy hat?
I have no idea.
He's not gonna, okay? I promise. Whatever their stupid team name was,
The Smoking Gun.
Smoking Guns, they ain't coming back. Dumb.
Wouldn't it be something that they did, though? Billy and Bart just came out, reunited like nothing had happened.
Mm-hmm. Could come back tomorrow.
They could.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're in a Saudi Arabia battle royal.
I think Billy's busy. Foley's in his workshop, like Santa.
Like The Undertaker.
He tells Jericho that he has sent Kane home and threatened him with a 2-month suspension. And Jericho says, that's great. With Kane not here, I can beat The Rock tonight. I can become #1 contender. He leaves the workshop. On the way out, he runs into Buddy the Elf. No, I'm kidding. It's Hunter. And they stop and stare at each other because they always hate each other. It's one of those feuds that just never ends, even if it's not going on right now.
Oh, it is.
Well, right now it is, yeah. I mean, in 2000, it's not going on right now. So Hunter goes to Jericho, or Hunter goes to Foley, and he talks to Foley like, I've heard you have to talk to Vince, which is basically, if you want something from Vince, you have to convince him it's his idea.
Yes.
So Hunter does that to Foley. It would be a great idea. I know Kurt doesn't have to defend his title tonight, but what if he put him in a non-title match against me? And Foley says, that's great. He makes the match, and Hunter says, I know my wife is Kurt's manager, but tonight I will prove that Kurt Angle is my bitch.
We sure did.
Done.
That's when I figured out he was a babyface. He told the truth here. I watch this, and I know that every single week I say, how is Triple H a babyface? Every week I'm caught off guard. This dude storms in all angry, and he's cutting this promo. And like about 2/3 of the way through, I realize he's a good guy. Like him and Foley are both baby faces right now.
Yeah.
It was so weird.
Rikishi gets bandaged up after what Austin did to him. X-Pac.
Oh my God, after all these years.
X-Pac?
Surprised the Smoking Guns weren't here.
Is that WWF New
Tori
York?
is here.
Tori, it wasn't that long.
It's been a long time.
Tori confronts him. Says last time she saw him, the Dudleys were putting her through a table.
At King of the Ring.
So 5 months, 6 months. She tore up her shoulder. It was terrible, but she's back now, and she's here for one thing, and she slaps X-Pac, and she leaves. Foley comes out for a promo. He announces the other matches he's already announced, Hunter versus Kurt, Jericho versus Rock. Did anyone else notice how particularly terrible Foley's haircut was tonight?
Oh, he's had many terrible
He
haircuts.
looked like a Sasquatch,
It's kind of his gimmick.
I guess. So he talks about how hard it is to be commissioner. It's more work than he thought it was going to be. And the crowd starts to moan and boo, and he just laughs and says, I'm not quitting. I just need some help. He introduces Lieutenant Commissioner Deborah. So Deborah comes out, preceded by her own cleavage, way out in front of her. She just stands there,
Dude,
and Mick flaps his gums, and that's that.
there was 0 point to this, except they wanted to get Deborah's boobs on TV in front of the crowd. They totally could have done this backstage. They could have done this in 30 seconds in Foley's office, but they had to bring out Mick Foley, have him cut his promo, bring out Deborah, parade her boobs around, and I was just like, I'm tired. Can we get going with this show?
Kurt is bitching to Edge and Christian about having to face Hunter tonight. He didn't even bring his gear, he says. They have a plan. This is their plan. You take care of Triple H, then we'll all have cake.
That sounds like a cool plan to me.
Then they play Angle's theme on the kazoo, complete with Edge singing along, Angle, Angle, which I think eventually develops into the crowd chanting, you suck. So this is actually an important angle.
No pun intended.
Yeah. Then we get another important angle. His name is Kurt versus Triple H. Okay.
This thing.
I knew Hunter was going to win, Brian.
What?
I did not, going into this, understand the devastation and ruin Hunter was going to lay,
Yes.
the nuclear bomb he was going to drop on Angle and his buddies in this match.
Let's keep a couple things in mind before we talk about this match, okay? Here's what we got to keep in mind. Kurt Angle is the WWF champion.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Kurt Angle's the champion, all right? There are 2 number 1 contenders.
Thank you.
Neither of which are Triple H. Right. It's The Rock and Chris Jericho. Mm-hmm. They're fighting in the main event. The winner will apparently get his championship match on SmackDown.
Right.
All right, whatever.
Convenient.
So Angle is going in here in a non-title match with Triple H. Triple H absolutely ruins this dude.
Decimates him.
I think if we went back and checked, there's a very good chance Roderick Strong got more offense against Kurt Angle than Kurt Angle got against Hunter in this match.
I like that Kurt forgot his gear, but he brought his boots.
Hunter beats him, and he beats him, and he beats him, and he beats him in the ring, and he beats him out of the ring, and he beats him, and he beats him, and he beats him in the crowd, and he beats him at ringside, he beats him back in the ring, and he beats him, and he beats him. Kurt is like, suplex. Mm-hmm. And Hunter shrugs it off and beats him. And beats him. And he takes him over to the announce desk, just like when Kurt got his concussion at SummerSlam. And he pedigrees him through the announce desk. And he throws him in the ring. And he grabs a chair. And the ref won't let him use the chair. So Hunter throws the ref down for the disqualification. And Hunter beats up the ref. And he beats up Kurt. Out come Edge and Christian to make the save. You'll never guess what happens. He beats them, and he beats them, and he hits this move, and he beats them.
Well, let's go through all of these here. So he beats the hell out of the guy. He pedigrees him on the table, which, by the way, almost killed Kurt last time. Let's do it again. Takes him into the ring. He beats on him and beats on him. I'm waiting for the referee to disqualify him, but the referee doesn't. So he beats up the ref. Now the ref DQs him.
Pedigrees the ref.
Hunter gets a chair. He goes to kill Angle. Tim White tries to save Kurt Angle, so Hunter pedigrees him right on his head. Then he gives Angle a chair shot. Then Edge hits the ring. He gets a chair shot. Then Christian hits the ring. He gets pedigreed. Triple H has destroyed everybody.
Let's do the body count here. Hunter is left standing triumphant. He sold not a damn thing in this match. This segment, actually. At his feet are the bodies of the heavyweight champion of the world.
Yes.
The top heel tag team.
Yes.
Both of them.
Yes.
And an innocent referee who's just trying to do his job.
Yes.
And Jim Ross screams, "Look at the carnage!"
Yes.
You're telling me.
Yep. But hey, not the number 1 contender.
No.
He's at least number 4.
And all I could think was, at the time, this whole marriage of Steph was a gimmick. How did he talk them into booking this segment this way? I was blown away.
The only good thing about this is both guys got their hands up with the chair shots. Nobody got killed.
No one, yes.
I want to know if Kurt still gets cake.
I don't see why not.
Okay.
It's perfectly good cake, but no one went into a cake.
That's true.
So I assume the cake is still
Cake should still be back there.
safe and sound backstage. All right, up next is my favorite thing on the
They
show.
should have showed Triple H destroying the cake.
With a hammer.
Yes.
Michael Cole interviews Chris Jericho and The Rock. Now,
This was actually a tremendous little promo.
this was fantastic. Now, Jericho was very, 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 very good here. But he was not as good as the Chris Jericho of 2019. And he was not close to as good as The Rock of the year 2000.
What I loved about this promo, well, I didn't love it. I should have known better. They're going back and forth, and they're insulting each other. And finally, Jericho does this big, elaborate deal, and they stop and they both look at each other. And we get that extended, awkward moment where they're both looking at each other. And I'm like, why do they always do this? And in my mind, I thought, it's awkward, but I can't believe Jericho got the last word in. And they stare at each other. There's like 5 seconds of silence. And then Rock grabs the mic, and he just keeps going.
Well,
I thought I should have known better.
if it's the moment I'm thinking of, Brian, what happened was, after interrupting each other and insulting each other for a minute or two, Jericho had the temerity to steal The Rock's line.
Yes.
Rock's reaction when Jericho talks about smelling what's cooking. I laughed so hard, I legit got a stomach cramp. I had to get up, walk around a bit,
Yes,
walk it
'cause
off.
it's all about the reactions.
So what's the pause you're speaking of is The Rock being flabbergasted. The temerity of this fucker to steal his material. gather himself and form a reply where he ends by stealing Jericho's material and making it a zillion times better because he's The Rock. And for the one time in his career, Michael Cole is perfect. He's just holding the mic while trying to be as far away from the action as possible and just so they don't notice him. For one time, they're not messing with him. He doesn't want their attention. Let them fight each other. He can just be in the background. So Rock was just hot as a million suns here. Just unbelievably great. An all-time great. One of his best moments. Think of the ground that covers. And God bless Jericho. Again, he was very good here. He just was not The Rock. This is the best thing in the show by a million miles. Mm-hmm. Then they had a match.
I really liked the match.
If you like smoke and mirrors and a lot of crazy shenanigans going on, it's a pretty good match. There's ref bumps. There's interference. There's distractions. I like that the ref gets bumped. Rock throws a punch and Jericho.
This was the best ref bump.
Right?
It's just so simple. Like sometimes they do these overly complicated, stupid ref bumps and you just laugh at how stupid they are. Rock just throws a right hand, Kurt ducks, and he punches Earl Hebner in the face. Earl takes this enormous bump and he goes down in the corner and he's dead. And they send out the second referee. The second referee just starts reffing the match. Mm-hmm. Earl is unmoving in the corner. He might be dead. They literally leave his body in the corner and just continue wrestling. And the other ref doesn't even check to see if Earl's okay.
You know what really makes that funny? I'm looking this up right now. I think this may have been Brian Hebner.
I don't think it was. I can't remember the guy's name, but it wasn't. I don't think Brian Hebner ever worked for WWE.
Oh, maybe not then. No, that would not be him then if he did not. Yeah, he's only on his dad's Wikipedia page. Anyway, I just like that as soon as the ref goes down, suddenly Jericho's a heel. And he's doing nut shots and chair shots. He's feuding with Kane. I don't know what the point of this was. But like there's second refs and Rikishi's out there and he lays out the second ref and Jericho hits the Quebrada. He's got the Rock pinned, but by the time the ref gets there, Rock kicks out. And finally, Rock hits the rock bottom and wins. Fine. Then Rikishi attacks the Rock.
I couldn't believe that when Rikishi came out, I thought, okay, well, the Rock promised to watch his back, and he didn't. And it's a number one contenders match, and Rikishi did the job to Steve Austin. So clearly, Rikishi is going to cost Rock the match, and Jericho is going to become the number one contender for Thursday. Rikishi just comes out and stands there, watches everything. Rock wins, and then he gets in the ring and beats him up.
Yeah. So he beats up the Rock, lays him out, and then says, I have a confession to make. I lied to Stone Cold Steve Austin. I lied to all of you people. The Rock knew all along what I had done to Stone Cold. There lies the man who helped me do this, he says. There lies the man who gave me his car keys. He begged me to run over Stone Cold Steve Austin. And now, Rock, you got some explaining to do. And he leaves, and the show ends on that cliffhanger.
Hey, that was a great cliffhanger. And we know that The Rock is a liar.
One way or another.
Granted, he lied to Rikishi.
Yes.
Which the fans would be into, but he did, in fact, lie. There you go.
All right.
Are you ready, Vinny?
Sure. The finishes on this show were pin after interference by the same guy, pin in a hardcore match, clean pin in a cage match where they were outside the cage for half the match, pin after a man interferes by waving his belt in front of a man's face, DQ due to ref attack when the champion of the world is beaten pillar to post by a guy who isn't even in the top contenders match in the show, and in the main event, pin after multiple ref bumps and low blows and chairs and interference.